in from Washington, D.C. Then he flew to 880 area. That is, of course, in Oakland to take a look at the rescue efforts there. And then he stopped briefly at the Presidio in San Francisco before heading on down to Santa Cruz. That, of course, is an area that has been very hard hit, closest to the epicenter of Tuesday's powerful trembler. And right now, Channel 7's Carol Ivy is standing by with the latest from Santa Cruz. Carol? Carol, you are with us now, live from Santa Cruz.
Okay, Carol looks, there she is. Carol, can you hear us? You're on the air right now.
This is by satellite, and I think we're having a little bit of an audio problem there, and I know we're having an audio problem, too, with a number of folks here at this point.
While we're waiting for Carol to get her earpiece hooked up and for the satellite things to stabilize, I have a couple of warnings for you from folks in the San Francisco area from the Department of Public Works. The Public Affairs Officer Alex Mamet called me to tell us that water conservation is being requested in San Francisco. That is because there are many, many broken sewer mains around the city. He says there is a beach warning from the Golden Gate Bridge to Hunters Point. Raw sewage has spilled into the bay as a result of a leak at the North Shore Sewage Treatment Plant at Embarcadero and Maine. It has been temporarily repaired, but he says that conserving water would go a long way to help ease the strain on the temporary repairs until the final job can be completed. Hopefully, they say that will be by Monday. They're asking that you please do not use dishwashers, take short showers if you've got hot water, cut back on toilet flushing, and whatever else you can do to conserve water. So that warning for San Francisco coming out just tonight.
It's a reminder of what we had to do 10 or 12 years ago, so we go back to that, at least temporarily. And there are also some sewer lines that are broken in Santa Cruz as well, but they hope to have those repaired within the next 24 hours. And let's get the latest now from Santa Cruz as they try to clean up there. And again, here now is Channel 7's Carol Ivy. Carol?
Don, I am at the mall in Santa Cruz where I seem to have been for the last several days, and it was only a few hours ago, frankly, that George Bush came through here. He stayed about 25 minutes, and he took a look at the damage that we've been describing to you all week. He also talked about volunteerism. You know, volunteerism is a big deal with President George Bush and his wife, Barbara. He commended all of the volunteers who have helped the people who are most in need here. Among those who have come to aid a helping hand are some rather unusual volunteers, and they include a police chief and 6 police officers from Charleston, South Carolina. Now, we all know that Charleston, South Carolina itself suffered a terrible tragedy recently in the wake of Hurricane Hugo. What this police chief told us today is that he came here with his men because he just wanted to do some good.
We had a 4-part mission. One was to deliver 30,000 gallons of water and 32 5,000 kilowatt generators here, because we knew they were going to need that. That's the same thing we needed, was water and electrical power. We knew that. That was one mission. The second one was to offer whatever assistance to the local community we could.
But in the big picture, why?
And the third one is we also set on an earthquake fault, which shook down a good portion of the city 100 years ago, and we want to learn about earthquakes. And the fourth reason is so many people came from out of state to help us.
It was interesting to me that the chief said they also are on an earthquake fault. He was here for Bush's visit, as were a lot of other dignitaries, and he pointed out the differences between what happened to them in the hurricane and the terrible devastation George Bush saw today with this earthquake. He mentioned to the president that one of the things that was in their favor was that hurricanes give some warning, and that they were able to get people out of Charleston, South Carolina before the hurricane hit. Of course, here in Santa Cruz and throughout the Bay Area, there was no warning at all before the earthquake hit. And the police chief did say that that was the most unfortunate part of what he has seen here. He, at least, was able to save some lives in his situation. Again, he says he will stay here with his men as long as it takes. George Bush, meanwhile, says that he will cooperate with Congress in terms of what they are asking for federal aid for this area. And on the 6 o'clock news, we're going to have an interview with Leon Panetta, the congressman from this particular region of Northern California, who will tell us that on Monday, in fact, he expects Congress to do something to try to appropriate perhaps as much as $5 or $6 billion in aid. Don?
Yes, Carol, we talked to you earlier, of course, when the president was there and we were on live. And if we could talk again about the attitude, if it's changed at all. Some people were rather upset a couple of days ago in Santa Cruz. Have they changed their attitude a bit now that the president was actually there, and maybe they've seen a little bit of reassurance that the government cares?
You're absolutely right. After I talked to you during that live shot, I was able to talk to some of the people in the area, and whether they were Republicans or Democrats, they told me that it was heartwarming to have President Bush here. It was emotionally supportive, as well as the fact that it offered them some hope that the federal government would do something. When we were talking about Charleston, South Carolina, there was, of course, a lot of criticism that although President Bush said he would provide aid, the aid just didn't come fast enough. So these people are saying, all right, you said today you'd help us out. Now, how quickly are we going to get this money? And that, of course, nobody that question. The other worry here, and I don't know if you can tell, you know, when the earthquake hit, it was so hot, and I don't want to steal any of Pete Giddings' thunder, but I've lived in beach towns in California for many years, and there is a storm front moving in here, and that's the big worry in Santa Cruz tonight. There are lots of people still out of their homes. There are people sleeping on lawns outside of the shelter. I think the Conservation Corps just went by. They're going to try to do something for those folks tonight in terms of tents, but having been a coastal native, I'm a coastal native, it is going to rain here, and that's going to cause a lot of new problems.
Okay, Carol, so it's not going to get any easier for those people already so badly hurt by all of this. Carol Ivy reporting live from the South Bay near the epicenter of the quake. Don?
Yes, indeed, and Pete Giddings will be with us a little bit later on. Well, you Channel 7 viewers and really people from throughout the nation are responding to the call of help for the victims of the quake. Money is pouring in to assist the Red Cross in its relief effort. And joining us now is Bob Davis from the Red Cross. And Bob, so far, I have some totals here. Channel 7 viewers have sent in checks totaling more than $82,000, and the mail's been a little bit slow. We're still playing catch-up. Our sister station, KFSN in Fresno, has collected over $7,300 in just one day. They knew what was going on up here. They wanted to contribute. The operating engineers local of San Francisco handed us a check for $50,000. Deputy sheriffs of San Mateo County contributed $1,000. And here we have some of the checks that we've been able to go through, and there are more back in the accounting department, and there's cash money here, too. So far, we have over $100,000 for you, for the American Red Cross, from people of Channel 7, all of those great folks out there.
Well, we're just tremendously grateful. It really warms your heart to see the kind of response that we're getting of both people that want to help and people who are willing to give their money.
Yes, can you give us some idea where this money is going, what kind of help?
This money is going to take care of the people who have been displaced from their homes and who need food, and who are now in our shelters. We have 7 shelters open in the area that's been impacted, and there are over 5,000 people in those shelters. And this money will go to assure that they can continue to receive the food and the shelter and the blankets and the clothing and so forth that they need.
I understand that you do not need any more donations of food or clothing or anything of that
There
sort.
seems to be plenty of food coming in. Safeway and some of the others have been very, very helpful in providing food and clothing. Water, bottled water is coming in, and it really is a tremendous response to an important need, and we're very grateful.
Bob, I have to ask you, yesterday we put on a request that the Red Cross still needs a hot truck and a cold truck, disposable diapers for senior citizens. What kinds of things can the public, if you get those big donations, can they do now if they can't send money?
Well, we believe right now that there is an ample supply of most things. There are some areas where we need underwear because people came with no clothing, and so underwear is still an item that can be used, and hopefully we'll be able to get these people changed around and then start getting them back into non-shelter type places.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's the process that's going on right now.
All right. Mr. Davis, thank you for all of the tremendous work that you've been doing.
Well, thank you and all the people in the Bay Area and around the country who have been so responsive. It really means a great deal.
Okay.
Thank
the
you very
address
much.
is KGO-TV, Box 7, San Francisco, 94101 for the Red Cross Relief.
It was just a little over 72 hours ago, 5:04 on Tuesday, when the ground opened up and shook. Walls and roads collapsed. Lives were lost. Channel 7's Ed Leslie says the first 72 hours after a quake are critical.
Some tasks just cannot wait because the next aftershock may, for example, bring down a weakened structure. So many officials rely on a traditional 72-hour period after a big quake before assuming no further dangerous aftershocks. San Francisco Police Chief Frank Jordan, for example.
Some of the structures in there that have moved some, even just since noon yesterday, so that there is some movement. And our concern is that with some movement and the unsafe conditions of some of the buildings, we are still anticipating, as you know, it's the first 72 hours after an earthquake, there's always a possibility of a fairly good-sized aftershock. And if there is an aftershock in there, with some of those buildings that are 4 stories high, it's unsafe.
That was last night at 11 minutes after 7. The 72-hour aftershock deadline, so to speak, expired tonight at 5:04. The question now is whether the area is finally considered safe from further aftershocks, and it's obviously a rather complicated issue. So the best thing to do is talk to an expert on the matter, which is why we're here at the University of California at Berkeley to consult the scientist that we always consult on these matters, Dr. Robert Urhammer. Dr. Urhammer is now studying current aftershocks on the university's brand new computerized seismograph, and that is the magnitude 4.3 aftershock you might have felt yesterday at 5 p.m.
In the last few days, we've had some dozen earthquakes over magnitude 4, some 6 dozen earthquakes over magnitude 3. And as time goes on, the rate at which they occur decreases. The average magnitude which occurs does not decrease. That is, a magnitude 4 can still occur even days or weeks afterwards, but it's less likely as time goes on for any given size earthquake to occur.
The most learned conclusions at this time, then, are that we can expect aftershocks to continue for at least a month, but expect fewer of them, and they should diminish in strength. At UC Berkeley, Ed Leslie, Channel 7 News.
We'll be back with more of our continuing coverage on the aftermath of the quake in just a moment. Please stay with us.
Signs of satisfaction at over 300 Big O tire stores across America.
Your satisfaction.
Dedicated Big O store owners earning your trust every day. Employees doing their best to serve you, plus a warranty and service policy second to none. From Washington to California to Kentucky and Colorado.
Get that Big O feeling. Satisfaction second to none.
Oh, you like the way it cooks, and you like the way it looks. Oh, you like golden grain. It's the perfect way to pasta. It's so yummy in your tummy, and it's saucy when it's saucy. It goes wiggle when you giggle. It's California's favorite pasta. Mastacholi and linguine, rigatoni, fettuccine. Oh, you like golden grain. It's the perfect way to pasta.
You don't have to shop at a tent sale for great new car deals. Visit your neighborhood Chrysler Plymouth dealer's special 89 sell-off for cool cars and hot deals. Through October 31st, save big with special deals on every 89 Chrysler and Plymouth in stock. Save big on Chrysler LeBaron Coupe, on Colt GT imported for Plymouth, on sporty Plymouth Sundance, on most new 89 cars with factory rebates and special sell-off prices. But hurry, this 89 sell-off ends October 31st. So get to your nearby Bay Area Chrysler Plymouth dealer and buy one today.
The future of time is revolutionary. With computerized IQ, intelligent quartz only from Seiko. Now just 2 hands simply perform 4 separate functions. Precision quartz time, an alarm, a countdown timer, a stopwatch. It's revolutionary. The future of time is in our hands. Seiko.
Available at all Millens Jewelers locations.
You've heard many times that the hardest hit area in San Francisco is the Marina District. That's where Channel 7's Frank Crocker has been ever since the day after the quake. Covering that story for us, Frank joins us now with an update.
Cheryl, that beautiful spot along the bay so hard hit by Tuesday's quake is trying to pick itself up this evening. After days of waiting and wondering and waiting some more, many Marina residents were allowed back into their neighborhood today. The pass system set up by San Francisco city officials initially gave those people only 15 minutes. That's 1/4 of 1 hour to grab what they could and then get back out. It was also the first time we've been allowed into the inner marina since those frantic hours right after the earth shook so violently. Here's some of what we saw and heard this morning.
This is more material than you can handle, all right? And you don't have a car here. You see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, now. So let's stop right now.
Haven't had our building inspected yet. So we're just going to go in and get what we can without inspecting it. Sorry, Pete. Oh.
we fortunately had purchased another place when the quake hit, and we were moving out, as you noticed by the dumpster. And we had moved most of the stuff the weekend before, and we're moving the rest of it now. Good luck. Thanks.
With all these words, okay? And the chair and the ottoman are his. Okay. Now, watch out with the chair, because one of the legs
That was a shot of the presidential helicopter circling around the marina. Most folks didn't know he was there this morning looking down on them. We'll have more from the Marina Live in the next hour. It's been a busy place all day long. It continues to be busy tonight, and it will, obviously, for months and months to come.
And with the rain threat, too. Frank, thank you. The sharks are starting to swarm. That's what one concerned homeowner in San Mateo told us today after getting 3 phone calls from supposed contractors offering to check out possible earthquake damage. They asked for cash up front. Now, most legitimate contractors do free estimates, and precious few of them need to solicit your business on the telephone.
Everyone's coming out of the woodwork now, whether it's the charity fraud, home repair contractor, con artists, or price gougers. And again, if you do suspect someone may be trying to rip you off, please check with us, your local Better Business Bureau, your local Consumer Protection Agency, because this is happening in every county.
If you're approached by anyone alleging to offer contracting services, plumbing, house repairs, those sorts of things, insist on a phone number and an address and check them out. Try to get 3 bids for comparison. And you can check on whether anyone offering services is a licensed contractor by calling the State License Board at area code 916-366-5153. There it is again, 916-366-5153. If you suspect a scam, then call your local district attorney. San Francisco District Attorney Consumer Fraud Office is at area code 415-553-1814. Please keep your pencil and paper handy because we'll be giving you more information throughout the next 2.5 hours that we continue until 7:30 tonight.
And we will be back. Please stay with us for more information.
Your Nissan dealer is having a fall clearance, so if you need a car with more power, more room, or more of everything, see your Nissan dealer now, because he's making the best deals of the year on all his Nissans. He's offering dealer cash incentives on tough, hard-body trucks, dealer cash incentives on the reliable 12-valve fuel-injected Sentra, and great deals on Maxima, the most trouble-free cars sold in the U.S. So get down to your Nissan dealer's fall clearance by November 5th, because the only thing we can't give you is more time.
First night, I stayed in this great hotel. The next day, I put this foot where no human had ever walked before.
She's the mystery.
See things fresh for the first time.
She is Alaska, Alaska. Alaska is her name, Alaska.
Nothing makes you feel as good as gold.
I love good food, but I know I should eat healthy. Then after my heart attack, my wife Josie proved something to me. Good-tasting food can be healthy. And that's what inspired Healthy Choice.
Introducing Healthy Choice frozen dinners. Truly delicious meals, low in fat, sodium, and cholesterol, so they can help you keep your heart healthy.
That Josie. She's always a step ahead of me. You think she's after my job?
Listen to your heart. Make a healthy choice.
President Bush seemed almost stunned today as he toured the rubble of the Interstate 880 disaster in Oakland. Marty Gonzalez reports live from the scene of the earthquake's worst carnage. Hi, Marty.
Hello, Cheryl. It is getting gray, it is getting dark, it's getting windy, and you can tell there's a storm coming this way, as throughout much of the Bay Area is experiencing the same thing. And you can bet that's going to hamper the efforts of the people here, people who've been working pretty much non-stop since Tuesday night. They are tired, and now they're going to have to deal with some rain and some wind. You can bet it's going to be a mess this weekend. Thus far, they've been able to pull some 40 vehicles out of the rubble of I-880 behind me, and they believe that there are still about 50 cars left underneath the tons of concrete. That is a sizable downgrade from what they've been saying all this week, and that is one shred of good news that we have, that the death toll may be much lower than we had originally thought. They think that half of those cars, half of those 50 cars, are unoccupied, which could be more good news. What that means is that possibly somehow people were able to climb out of their cars and get out of there. That, of course, remains to be seen. As you mentioned, President Bush came to West Oakland today. He was visibly shocked by what he saw. He reviewed the damage. He pledged his support, and he also promised that help is on the way.
This side was still shaking. The upper structure down the wall. We had the cars thrown between the guardrail. There were these things that each one collapsed out here. Yes. Those are the heavy lift side. Yes. These then didn't keep some of it apart? Go ahead. These big cross sections? No, they just crumbled too. Went straight down. A lot of the people who were killed by these giant cross beams that hit their cars. Unfortunately, they didn't provide enough elevation for cars to remain. So they were...
You look at the column on the other side, Mr. President, you'll see it's totally different from this one. Those actually burst, and you can... That steel that you're hanging out there is the vertical reinforcing steel of that column, and it just blew spaghetti out the other side, and then these tilted this way.
Those were workers and police officers explaining to the president exactly what happened and exactly what they're doing to try and to shore up the freeway. The president spent a total, once he got here, of less than 5 minutes touring the site, but talking to people afterwards, there was a mixed review of what his visit meant. One person told me it's great, no matter how short amount of time he spends here. We need to have him here to see what's going on firsthand, to hear what's going on firsthand, and that would make getting the federal money that much easier. One other person disagreed entirely, saying it's a sideshow, nothing more, nothing less, and he doesn't really expect much to come out of this. One other note that you may have heard about earlier, this morning in the pre-dawn darkness, one worker who was obviously very tired accidentally drove off one of the ramps here, and his car plummeted 30 feet. We have an update on his condition. He was rescued fairly rapidly. He was able to get out with just a broken wrist and a concussion. So that, of course, is good news. Don and Cheryl, back to you.
Okay, Marty. Marty Gonzalez reporting live from Interstate 880. Thanks, Marty.
The rescue efforts, of course, continue on 880, but there are other people in Oakland trying to get their lives back to normal. They are the ones who live and work there. Channel 7's Willie Monroe has the latest on the earthquake damage to stores, office buildings, and homes.
Anybody find that?
There is scattered evidence of destruction all around Oakland. Owners of the Ebony Plaza Hotel removed signs that dangled precariously, but it wasn't enough to inspire confidence in residents that the hotel is safe.
Look at it. It's down at the bottom, and it looks like it could cave in at any time. I just don't feel safe here. I didn't feel safe when I came here. It's just that this is something just temporarily for me until I can get something better.
Damage was particularly acute in the downtown area. Some of it is obvious, like the fallen bricks at the Old Swans Market at 10th and Clay, or the Emporium Capwell building on Telegraph. Other buildings required a closer look, like the 1420 Broadway building across from City Hall, its facade cracked in patterns that signal its demise. Oakland City Hall is closed for at least 2 months. City Hall West, however, might be closed forever. Inside are offices tossed around like they were in a blender, walls deeply cracked, and a stairway barely visible through a window that completely collapsed.
City Hall and City Hall West, in terms of publicly owned buildings, are two that were damaged to the point where they are not being used at this time, and the city employees who work in those two buildings specifically are on call, on standby. We are currently now trying to find space to house those employees so that they can return to work.
PG&E crews were busy removing the gas line in front of Marjorie Anderson's house at 11th and Cypress so the house can be torn down. She's lived there since 1948.
Once it stopped, we got out, but we couldn't get out the front door because it was blocked.
and the neighbors were out there hollering, and they pushed the door in so we could get out and lifted us out over the roof. We didn't know the roof had crumbled in.
84-year-old Mahalia C. Williams isn't sure about the fate of her West Oakland home of more than 30 years. She's just glad to have survived.
I just thank God that I was blessed. I said, save me. I said, Lord, have mercy, save me, save me, save me. And I felt happy and glad, you know, it came on out. I didn't get excited. I just thank God that he saved me.
About 150 residents of the Dalziel Hotel need a new home. Dorothy Williams was one of those evacuated during the quake who returned to reclaim belongings. But property wasn't her biggest concern.
The third and the fourth window up there is with my apartment, and my cat's still up there. My friend is up there trying to find her. Yeah!
I'm coming!
Jerry will be up to help you, honey. I couldn't find her when I tried to come down, when they evacuated us. Now I can eat. I haven't been able to eat anything. Oh, thank God. Oh, that's the best news I had today.
In Oakland, Willie Monroe, Channel 7 News.
I get mad at her.
Well, the damage estimates continue to rise in Santa Cruz and other parts of the Bay Area. They now range from $2 billion to as high as $5 billion. With the latest from Santa Cruz, let's go live to Tony Russomano. Tony?
Cheryl, right now I'm standing in a crack in the earth in the Santa Cruz Mountains, just off Summit Road, off Highway 17. This is perhaps the most dramatic evidence of the earthquake from 2 days ago. It's a fissure in the earth about 300 feet long, 4 feet wide or so at its widest point. If I get down here, it gets as deep as about 7.5 feet, I'd say. You'll excuse me if I don't stay down there, but this crack may not be caused by tectonic forces. There are other explanations that are possible, so don't assume that this is a rift in the earth caused by the San Andreas Fault. It might be the result of slope slippage, ground motion, caused by shaking, that sort of thing. The geologists are tending towards that explanation rather than a tectonic action. However, it is the most impressive site. The house just behind me is owned by John and Frida Tranbarger, and they are the sweetest couple you'd ever want to meet. They were here just a little while ago, and giving interviews, talking to people. Their house is okay, amazingly enough. The foundation is intact. There's not a crack in it. Of course, the inside of the house is completely trashed, but it looks like they'll be able to get back into the house after this all gets cleaned up, providing, of course, that the geologists find the ground to be stable. I don't know if you can really get an idea of how big and how deep this crack is with me just standing in it. Earlier today, Channel 7 photographer Clyde Powell attached a small 8mm camera to a stick and walked along the crack with the camera, taking a look at how deep this is. It looks like the Grand Canyon when you really look at it like that, but actually it's quite an impressive sight. Geologists have been having a field day looking at this. They've been coming in from all over the world. Earlier today, there was a group of 4 geologists that showed up in a yellow cab from San Francisco. They had just arrived from Japan, flew in from Japan and hopped in a cab and said, "Take me to the epicenter." And the poor cab driver has been driving around the mountains trying to find the epicenter. Actually, it's near Lexington Reservoir. There have been TV crews here from all over the world. Japanese TV is just down the line a little bit. Australian TV was here. And this is going to be the most photographed crack in the earth, I think, that you're likely to find. There are other cracks that might be tectonic related, that might be actually due to slippage along the fault line. There's a 1,000-foot crack about 2 or 3 miles from here, further south down the hill. It looks like it's along the Zayante fault line, and the geologists right now think that the slippage on the San Andreas might have caused some secondary slippage on the Zayante, opening up a crack in the earth about 1,000 feet long, maybe 2-3 feet wide, and perhaps 4 or 5 feet deep. That crack, I understand, has leveled 3 houses along the Zayante fault line. So the geologists are taking all sorts of measurements. They have no definite answers right now. Dr. Karen McNally from the UC Santa Cruz Charles Richter Seismological Lab said she could tell us what she thought was happening now, but she said if you want the truth, come back in about a year.
Yeah.
Very dramatic tape there from Clyde Powell, Tony. My goodness, it really kind of puts it into perspective. It's huge.
It appears as though Tony is having a little difficulty hearing us.
I can hear you, Cheryl.
Can you hear? Oh, okay. We didn't know. How did Clyde do that, real quickly?
Well, he has his own Super 8mm video camera, and he spent a little while thinking about it. But he attached an aluminum telescoping pole, a light stand, to the base of the camera, and then just walked along the crack, dipping the camera into the crack as he walked and bringing it up again. So the camera is only a couple of inches wide. It's amazing what this new technology can do. That's why it was able to get down there where our normal broadcast video camera really couldn't get to.
There it is. We're looking at some more of it as well now, and
footage once again shot by our cameraman Clyde Powell, who works with Tony on a regular basis. All right, Tony, thank you very much for that report.
Okay, get your pens and paper ready now, I think is the time, because we have a list of phone numbers for you you'll find helpful during the coming days, and here we go.
Keeps the kids off the street.
Now I have a lot more friends than I did.
I love it.
Kids need the boys' club. We need your help.
It's challenging. It's fun. It's Interactive Vision, the new video system that listens.
Here's Gonzo. He is great.
And responds.
Friends, Romans, and anchovy lovers.
Interactive Vision is kids making choices.
I'll push the red button.
Solving puzzles, creating stories with their favorite characters.
Who do you want to star in your next play?
Interactive Vision, the exciting new video system from Viewmaster.
Hi, Ed. Hi, Brian. Sizzler for lunch? You bet. Good.
Sizzler introduces 3 new grilled lunch sandwiches. Don't why eat out of a bag or a styrofoam box.
Hi, Brian. Hi, Ed. Hi, Don. Sizzler for lunch again? Yep. Good.
Try our Santa Fe chicken sandwich, marinated fajita style. The Chicken Club with Swiss and bacon, or grilled sausage and onions. Hurry to Sizzler for new grilled lunch sandwiches.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Mike.
Sizzler for lunch. Good.
On October 17th, one of the most serious earthquakes in history struck the Bay Area. The Farmers Insurance Group of Companies has opened a special emergency claims center to process claims. Additional personnel have been added from all over the country to meet our policyholders' needs in the Bay Area. For immediate information, contact your farmer's agent or any farmer's agent. All stand ready to help. You can depend on it.
Byron Allen has Pop's #1 family, the Jets. Funny Man, Dave Coulier.
There's a moose that I was doing for a while.
His makers, Young MC.
Just bust the move!
And 30-somethings, Melanie Mayron. Fun and craziness on the Byron Allen Show, Saturday at midnight on Channel 7.
The earthquake has left many of our Bay Area neighbors in need of aid. To help, send your donation to the American Red Cross, care of KGO TV and radio. We'll see that it gets to them.
High winds and the threat of rain is hampering repair work on the badly damaged Bay Bridge. Caltrans has brought in outside contractors to remove the section of the upper deck that fell onto the lower roadway. They're cautiously severing the last links of the damaged segment to the upper deck, and they're preparing to lower the damaged section by crane to a waiting barge. They were all set to complete the operation today, but this afternoon some high winds came up, and that has slowed down the effort.
we're hoping to do something on the lift out by the end of this weekend. Either Saturday or Sunday is our target schedule at the moment. We need some good weather, and we need some good luck on some of the intermediate operations to make that happen.
And that's just the start. It still looks like 2 months before repairs to the Bay Bridge are complete.
Other major roads and freeways were damaged by the quake. Since Tuesday, crews have been working around the clock to inspect or repair those highways. But many are still closed. Pete Wilson now has a rundown of what is closed and how you can get around the bottlenecks.
For those of you coming into San Francisco, the Bay Bridge is, of course, still closed, and it will be for perhaps a month or more. The Embarcadero Freeway is also closed, so if you're coming north on 101, take an earlier San Francisco exit. The Interstate 280 extension from Highway 101 to 6th Street is closed, but you can take the Central Freeway to downtown. Going to the Golden Gate Bridge is slow going, period. The Franklin Street off-ramp has been closed due to structural damage. Traffic must exit at Fell. Many streets in the marina are still closed, and officials request you stay away from that area. Use Lombard or 19th Avenue to get to the Golden Gate Bridge. The Gough Street on-ramp to the Central Freeway is also closed. You'll have to make your way to Oak Street. Across the bay, if you want to get around the toppled 880 Cypress structure, you can go from I-80 to 580. Westbound 980 has been closed on and off. If it's open, you can take it to connect with 880. If it is not, there will be signs directing you to surface streets, or you can go all the way down 238. Just reverse the route if you're coming north. 980 eastbound is open. In the North Bay, all major roads are open, but be careful along the coast. Highway 1 has been closed in Sonoma County between Highway 116 and Timber Cove. Down south, the situation around Santa Cruz is still an extremely difficult one, with Highway 17 closed starting at Highway 9. The Highway 1 bridge over Struve Slough is also closed, and so is Highway 25. Only residents of Hollister can use this road at all. Just south of Santa Cruz, watch for detours along Highway 1. Again, be extremely careful along the coast. Loosened rocks can fall at any time.
I tell you, though, we're getting some warnings that the Monday morning commute can be a real nightmare if you're not prepared. Now, most people who haven't already gone back to work are going to try to do so on Monday, of course. Coming up in the next hour, reporter Jim Vargas will give you some tips on alternative ways to get to work. More ferries will be running from the East Bay, along with buses from the North Bay and trains on the peninsula.
Right now, though, let's check in with Jeffrey Schaub of Traffic Central for the very latest on the situation now. Hi, Jeffrey.
Hello there again on this afternoon, and we'll take a look at what's happening in the South Bay, or along the peninsula to be exact. Highway 92, that's the real trouble spot this afternoon, the San Mateo Bridge. No surprises there, eastbound. Slows to about 15 miles an hour all the way from Highway 101 over to the Nimitz Freeway, and remains slow on the Nimitz Freeway southbound through Hayward and Fremont. We can put a light note in on all this traffic misery on this Friday afternoon. Somebody's out there mooning people, motorists on the San Mateo Bridge. Something you don't want to do, but a light moment nonetheless. Southbound 101 north of Broadway in the peninsula, there is an accident there, and 101 is very heavy from the San Francisco airport all the way down through the cities along the peninsula. The Dumbarton Bridge crowded eastbound as well. In the East Bay, 580 looks pretty good, the MacArthur Freeway. 80 is slow through Berkeley, Embryville, and the Pinole area, but nothing to write home about there. In Marin County, we have seen an absolute deluge of traffic up and over the Golden Gate Bridge, and northbound 101 begins to crawl at the Mill Valley exit all the way to San Rafael. Westbound San Rafael Bridge traffic begins to slow down in Richmond right after you get to the Hoffman area there, and continues that way all the way across the Richmond Bridge into Marin County. There is a high wind advisory in effect for all Bay Area bridges, and that includes 280 along the peninsula. We'll be back in a few minutes with more traffic information. Back to you.
Okay, Jeff. Thanks very much.
And when we come back, Pete Giddings here with the word on the weekend. It does not look too promising.
We'll be back.
Make your move now and save big. Check out the savings on all Hoover cleaners with prices starting at $29.99. Now at Electric Avenue, Montgomery Ward.
The other guys in the office, they're jamming me. They don't play. I'm drinking my next cup of coffee in Brazil, buddy, because I'll tell you, I'm on the next plane. My plane, I'm down there. You know what I'm saying? I'm taking off.
You finally got everyone together.
Oh, I haven't.
And with a little help from Noor, your first family reunion was a delicious success.
Here, use this spoon.
Knorr's soup mix became a sumptuous dip.
Bring this out.
You top the roast with a rich hunter sauce.
Ooh, risotto.
And the creme caramel was a perfect finale.
Your favorite.
Make all your occasions special with Knorr.
Taste this.
Knorr, where taste is everything.
Everyone at Levitt's has pledged to make Levitt's the best place to buy furniture.
We'll bring you better quality, bigger selection.
We'll have your furniture right here, ready to go.
And we'll still have low prices, too.
For example, only $397 buys your choice of king-size Stratalounger recliners in your choice of beige, blue, or brown Herculon velvet covers.
You'll love it at Levitt's.
We're going to make sure.
There was a time when the doctor made house calls at the Carlsons. And the milkman would leave milk on their doorstep. Well, there's still someone who will stop by when you need them.
Call Murph, will you?
At Unical, we still do things the old-fashioned way. From cleaning a windshield to jumping your car.
Carlson? Hello, Murph. How's your old man?
He's doing real good.
Tell him I'll be stopping by for a battery.
Sounds like a good idea.
Our meteorologist, Pete Giddings, now with the word he's been warning that it's going to rain, and of course that's not going to help efforts at all with things going on. Let's find out. Here he is. Pete?
Well, guys, I can show you pictures of rain as it's marching down the state. You can see how broad this area is. Things have slowed down a bit. A wave has formed. That's good and bad. Good in that it's giving them more hours of daylight. Bad in that it is allowing more moisture to be entrained into the system. Remember the counterclockwise flow. As this moves to the east, sliding to the south, it will have the ability of throwing more things our way. Winds around the Bay Area have been reported up to 40 miles an hour. The jet stream is continuing to inch our way, and by tonight at 11 when we come, undoubtedly you'll see this portion of the jet sitting right on top of us, bringing more of the moisture our way. Let's get rid of it and show it to you as it starts to pick up moisture and then get wider and wider and wider as it comes toward the coast. The main area of rain is sitting out in this general area, and you can see where it is on the radar already on the north coast and going over the northern half of our state. A lot of it in this radar picture not reaching the ground, but a lot of it is reaching the ground. And as far as our forecast is concerned, for tonight, rain is moving south through the state. Tomorrow, rain. Tomorrow night, we get a bit of a respite. The next system should be in on Sunday. And I hate to tell you this because I don't like outlooks and long-range forecasts, but it looks like we're going to be in for showery and rainy weather at least until next Wednesday with no increase in the temperature. Temperatures are going to stay on that cold side.
Not very good news, Peter. Thank you very much. Rain in the forecast. Not good news at all for the folks who are so hard hit. Food and supplies are being flown into earthquake victims who are stranded in the Santa Cruz area. Channel 7's Aaron Edwards is standing by live at Buchanan Airfield. He has just returned from an emergency airlift to the Watsonville area. Aaron?
Well, Cheryl, all day long, this has been a beehive of activity here at Buchanan Airfield in Concord. Dozens and dozens of small private planes involved in the food bank airlift. And all day they were ferrying thousands of pounds of food and clothing and other supplies to the Watsonville area, as you mentioned. But coming upon this activity, you couldn't help but wonder, where did all this huge collection of supplies come from?
It's coming from the community. All the folks in Contra Costa have been stepping forward and offering us what they know we need.
What do you need?
Well, what we need primarily for the folks in Santa Cruz is water, of all things. You know, their water mains are broken. They're not able to get access to water. But we also need the types of food that can be eaten from a can. Peanut butter, tuna fish, the kinds of things that people who don't have cooking facilities are still going to be able to eat.
To get these boxes of food and clothing and bottles of water and sleeping bags to the Watsonville area, where it is all so desperately needed, an airlift was organized only yesterday. The food bank airlift was organized by the people here at Buchanan Airfield in Concord, and the response to the call was far beyond anything they expected.
We've got private pilots here who own their own airplanes, they're renting airplanes, they're borrowing airplanes, and they're paying for it themselves.
And they're paying for the fuel as well.
Absolutely.
Where are the people from? How many are involved here?
We have approximately 80 pilots. We've got co-pilots. We have volunteer workers, probably close to 150 throughout the day. Word gets around. It spreads. We've contacted the various pilot organizations. They contact their members. And we have gotten people from as far as Petaluma, Hayward, Oakland, all over.
Here in Watsonville, this is the end of the run for the food bank airlift. But the food, the water, and the clothing that has been flown in here soon will be reloaded and distributed to the needy quake victims in San Benito, Monterey, and Santa Cruz counties who are so desperately in need of this help. The collection arriving from Buchanan Airfield is the work of volunteers and donors and pilots and others, and all of it is the result of hard work from people giving from their hearts, helping folks who are in difficulty and who need some assistance. No one here is getting even 1 cent for their efforts.
Okay, we're on the boat.
Let me say again that all of this was gathered and delivered on very short notice, and it was truly an outpouring of great concern. But the need goes on for the people who are stranded, some of them without lights, without heat, so many of them without even a home to go to. They still need food and clothing. They need bottled water and sleeping bags and tents. And if you would like to participate, why, the Community Food Coalition in Concord would be more than happy to hear from you. If there isn't anybody there, the machine, the answering service will take your phone number and whatever it is you would like to donate. Now, let me give you that phone number rapidly, 676-7543. That's 676-7543 in Concord. Cheryl?
Okay, Aaron, thank you very much. That is a Community Food Bank in Concord, is that correct?
That's correct. The
Okay.
Community Food Coalition.
Coalition, excuse me.
Okay, we salute them indeed, Aaron. Thank you. Channel 7 Earthquake Report will continue in just a moment.
Byron Allen has Pop's #1 family, the Jets. Funny Man, Dave Coulier.
There's a moose that I was doing for a while.
His makers, Young MC.
Just bust the move!
And 30-somethings, Melanie Mayron. Fun and craziness on the Byron Allen Show, Saturday at midnight on Channel 7. How will you get to work Monday morning? For the latest reports on traffic conditions, turn to the expanded Channel 7 Morning News, Monday morning at 6.
Books cost too much, so I opened Crown Books. Now you'll never have to pay full price again. We have over 10,000 books. Travel through the detours of an ordinary marriage in Ann Tyler's Breathing Lessons, just $4.13. Ever wonder what inspired Bach or Mozart? Explore the lives and works of great composers, only $24.98. So remember, if you paid full price, you didn't buy it at Crown Books.
When something is this big, it's hard to keep it under wraps. It's the Warehouse Birthday Sale. Save on music, movies, and more. Celebrate with the lowest prices of the year store-wide. Save on hits by artists like the Eagles, AC/DC, Debbie Gibson, In Excess, and Mike and the Mechanics. CDs, $9.88. Cassettes, $4.88. And all movie rentals are just $1 a day. Get the lowest prices of the year at the Birthday Sale. Where? The Warehouse.
The Great Wall of China is 2,150 miles long. Mount Everest stands 29,028 feet high. Pay attention. To reach the end of the Nile River, you'd have to swim 4,187 miles.
Who else has long-distance information worldwide? AT&T International Long Distance.
2 days after the quake, a lot of questions remain. Many reflect people's anger and frustration. As they turn to scientific experts, they expect to have all of the answers. Dr. Dean Adele has more thoughts about those expectations.
2, 1, ignition and liftoff.
Somehow, the fact that we can put men and women into space has given the public the idea that science can do anything. That's why we get so frustrated when we confront reality. Why can't we cure the common cold? Why can't we cure AIDS? And when it comes to earthquakes, the same question arises.
Why can't we do a better job of predicting earthquakes?
We simply don't understand enough about the physics of earthquake occurrence to predict the exact time and place. We do, however, have a statistical feeling for how often earthquakes occur in certain places.
Let me see if I can illustrate this to you with the aid of this brick and a board, okay? We're going to let this represent an earthquake. Remember, an earthquake is nothing more than two landmasses trying to slide by each other. And when they reach a critical amount of force, well, things break loose. Now watch this. I'm going to tilt this board till we reach a certain point where the brick wants to slide. That's an earthquake. Now, how can you possibly predict exactly when that's going to happen? A simpler example, and this is pretty simple. Take an elastic band, stretch it. When will it break? These elastic bands are all made by the same manufacturer in the same mold, yet they'll all break at different forces. So all scientists can do for us is to give us a statistical probability when events will happen. So rather than be angry at scientists who don't have all the answers, let's not forget to count our scientific blessings. There are diseases we can cure, and there are structures that can be engineered to withstand major earthquakes. Science is something to understand, not condemn.
I'm Dr. Dean Adele.
And while Dr. Dean Adele was asking why can't we predict earthquakes better, we felt a pretty big aftershock here in the newsroom. It certainly shook the whole building. If you felt aftershocks, some 1,400 of them. Since Tuesday, you probably felt this one. We hope there's no damage and certainly no more injuries. We will get that information for you and a Richter reading as soon as we can. We've got people on the phones right now. Well, since 5:04 Tuesday, we have, of course, seen again and again the dramatic damage that the quake caused throughout the Bay Area. But as Channel 7's Russ Coughlin points out, the things that burned or broke or tumbled down are only a part of the story. Perhaps less dramatic, but in many ways much more important, are the things that stayed put, that survived, that worked just as they should have.
You know, it's kind of tough about being a newsman, particularly in your own hometown, when you're forced to go out and cover tragedies of the nature of the quake. And I guess maybe that's something that makes us change our mind a little bit, and our state of mind has to be able to adjust to it. So for every tragedy that we've covered, we've got to look a little more optimistically of those good things that happened in the Bay Area, or more importantly, I guess, the things that didn't happen. And looking from that red brick, rather crude structure that wasn't built that too long ago, and then find out what the city of San Francisco has become and the architecture that held up during the quake is a very positive way to think about things. Well, the study in contrast really makes the point. As you go from the old of Chinatown up to the massive architecture and structures that are built to protect this city from the disaster we just went through. And it looks like it worked. It's to say, thank God, that we had the kind of minds and advanced thinking and men with future ideals that knew there would be another quake and prevented against it. And the fact that those kind of buildings are still standing today with relatively small damage is certainly a salute to that far-thinking kind of minds that we have to keep in mind for the rest of our future. And let's be thankful for what did not happen to the city of San Francisco and the Bay Area. And take this view from 52 stories up in the Bank of America building to see this is the city that was rebuilt once before and has essentially stayed that way. You know, we San Franciscans have a tradition of saying we don't ever let it get us down, whatever it is. And I guess these old rascals, one of them puffing up the hill run, are pretty good proof of what San Francisco is all about. We proved in 1906 we could rebuild, and we did the same thing with our greatest traffic transportation that ever existed in this city. It's part of us, but it's also part of the thought to remember everything is possible to restore. Only in San Francisco can Italy and China run head-on. And here at Broadway in Columbus is where it happens. Yet these represent the oldest structures here in the city of San Francisco that I can remember, having been born and raised here. And yet, we've looked at this whole area together, Kathy and I, and we haven't found one sign of any kind of damage. Shows that the old lasts by itself, too, without ever being rebuilt. Maybe restyled, but not rebuilt in North Beach. Well, take a look at this ugly brown mass of buildings that's up there. Ugly it may be, was pretty good when we really needed it, because you see, this was an auxiliary generator that we used here at Channel 7. And the minute the power went out, when the earthquake came, we were able to go to an additional power and a substitute power in order to keep our picture on the screen, and this picture returned to the screen just minutes after the earthquake. We were able to keep feeding all of the information that we had dug up with all of our reporters and our 120 people in our newsroom. An old-time, ugly-looking invention, but the pretty-looking things over there are beams that went directly up to satellites and took Channel 7's information, the only station operating at that time, to every part of the world to know that indeed there had been a quake happening in the city of San Francisco. Yeah, our beloved Bay Bridge took a hit, but thinking positively once again, it really wasn't much of a hit if you look at the overall size of that monster and the engineering technique that went into it. We also mustn't forget that the Golden Gate Bridge and the Antioch Bridge and the San Mateo Bridge and the Dunbarton Bridge stayed there to do the job they were designed to do. And maybe one of the final things that convinced me that we ought to have a positive attitude about this and what we can do under certain circumstances. When it happened and I had to reach work, all I had to do was pick up a telephone, and there was a line there so I could talk. And then above all, when I asked, finally, that there be light, I reached, and due to PG&E's efforts on a 24-hour-a-day basis of a bunch of brave guys working their butts off, I had light. Finally get back to the office at Jack Hansen and I's share, and every book and every picture and every record that we had in this place was all over the floor and scattered in every direction. But you know something? After 2 days, the books are in their place, the maps are where they ought to be, and we know what we're doing again. And maybe that's where we all ought to think here in the Bay Area. We all know what we're doing again. Let's be positive and carry on. Ross Coughlin, Channel 7 News.
And yes, we are still trying to check the size of that aftershock that we felt about 5 minutes ago, trying to get a Richter reading. As soon as we find out, we will let you know.
Channel 7 News continuing coverage of the aftermath of the quake of '89 continues in just a moment. Please stay with us.
With Pete Wilson and Ana Chavez.
Every day, it's the same old thing. A dry sandwich and a boring cup of soup.
Boring. Boring.
But now there's a soup in a cup that's different. Gourmet Pride. Gourmet Pride tastes much better than cup of noodles or instant lunch, with lots more meat and vegetables. So why settle for boring?
Gourmet Pride, now only 69 cents at Lucky. Lucky, still the low price leader.
During Hyundai's Full House Clearance, your dealer has a little number you'll never see again. 5224. A well-equipped Excel for just $52.24 after factory rebate. With variable intermittent wipers, rear defroster, room for 5, 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty, more standard features than any car in its class. It's the most affordable, best value in America. And we've got loads of them. So take a number.
See your Northern California Hyundai dealer today. Cashback incentives end November 2nd.
How can you tell the good guys from the other guys? Ask them a question.
So how do I really know this is a low price?
Well, how do we really know anything? Life is uncertain. Besides, what does low mean anyway? What's low to you could be high to someone else, but his low would be lower than your low, so your low is really high. See what I mean?
Those are the other guys. The good guys don't just talk about low prices. We guarantee them. They're good guys. We're the audio-video specialists. We've got to be good.
Mangia, buffet, tabemasu.
Come to Cost Plus, where you can afford to be different.
Class, today we'll study China.
Why settle for ordinary? Come to Cost Plus, where you can afford to be different.
For a Star Wars docudrama?
It is a spectacular crack in the Earth's surface. It is a rare look at the most violent and unpredictable of natural forces. A fissure that was found opened in the Santa Cruz Mountains along Highway 17. It is now the center of considerable interest tonight because it is near the epicenter, or what is imagined to be the epicenter, of what is being called the Loma Prieta earthquake. For us, the quake of '89. Scientists are now gathering, trying to figure out if, in fact, this is a clue to what happened, and if somewhere maybe 10 miles below the actual center of the earthquake this is where the earthquake actually was centered.
And you may remember that in the first hours after the earthquake and then on Wednesday, seismologists were very perplexed because they were unable to find the crack in the ground. And the striking pictures that we just saw represent sort of now the new landmark. It could be an opportunity, a golden opportunity for seismologists to learn about the science of what we've been through. Channel 7's Tony Russomanno has been there all day and joins us now. Hello, Tony.
Hi, Anna. I just a little shaky here. I just felt a little bit of an aftershock.
We have it here too, Tony.
Yeah, there have been a couple of them just in the past few minutes, and hard to say what's an aftershock and what's just shaky knees at this point. You are looking at the most dramatic visual evidence of the Loma Prieta earthquake of 1989. A crack in the earth 300 feet long, about 4 feet wide at this point, and deep. Let me do this once and do it quickly. Starts out a couple of feet deep. It goes down to about 7 feet deep down here. I'm going to hop out because I just don't like the aftershocks. Now, it's a little hard to, I did that just so you could see how deep this thing is. It's a little hard to visualize, though, on a two-dimensional TV screen. Those pictures that you saw earlier, let's show them again. Channel 7 cameraman Clyde Powell attached a Video 8 tape camera, a very small tape camera, to a light pole, and began walking along the crack to show you how deep it is. It looks like the Grand Canyon. And what we're learning about this crack now is that geologists think it probably is not the result of tectonic faulting. In other words, it probably is not the surface visual evidence of the San Andreas Fault. What the geologists think it might be is slope failure, the lateral spread of the ridge crest as the result of shaking. It's not to say it wasn't caused by the earthquake. It certainly was caused by the earthquake. Just don't assume that this is the surface manifestation of the San Andreas Fault. For one thing, the location is about 3 or 4 miles from the actual epicenter. The epicenter was placed at Lexington Reservoir, and the earthquake moved in a southeasterly direction emanating from the epicenter, from Lexington Reservoir. There are several cracks that have appeared in the ground in the Santa Cruz Mountains. There's another one about a mile or two from here that is over the Zayante Fault, and geologists think that might indeed be a tectonic fault as a result of cracking along the Zayante. That cracking caused by the fault on the caused by the San Andreas Fault cracking, setting up a similar motion on the Zayante. That crack is about 1,000 feet long. It's a couple of feet wide at its widest point and a few feet deep, and it's reportedly caused the collapse of several houses in the Santa Cruz Mountains. Geologists have been swarming all over this area. They have no firm answers right now. Some geologists think it might be tectonic, this crack, others saying it's probably not. Dr. Karen McNally of the UC Santa Cruz Richter Seismological Lab said she could say what she thought it was today, but her line to me was, if you want to know the truth, come back in a year. That's about how long it takes. There are no easy answers, no quick answers for something like this. Dr. McNally, though, as a result of that earthquake that we had in August, the 5.2 earthquake in August up in this area, installed some very sensitive monitoring equipment in case that earthquake was a foreshock or a pre-shock of a larger quake. As it turns out now, Dr. McNally says it was. The quake in August, she says, was a foreshock of this quake, and she registered ground motion of nearly 1/2 the force of gravity. The force that keeps us on Earth was registered at about half that. That's a tremendous amount of force released in ground motion. Pete?
Tony, will you do us just one favor? Don't get back in that crack. We felt that same shake up here, and we're just concerned about that thing closing up at all. Or...
Actually, Pete, you know, if I thought it would close up, I certainly wouldn't. I wouldn't be here now. It's not closing; it's getting bigger. It's growing wider, which is another reason why they think it might be the result of lateral slope slippage.
Are they worried about those folks living right alongside there at all?
You know, the house is intact. The foundation is fine. There's not a crack in the foundation. And I was talking to the couple, a lovely, sweet couple. They're staying at a hotel tonight. They're not living there.
Good idea.
The house is fine. As far as the condition of the house goes, it's not a problem. The question is the ground going to continue to move? If the ground moves, then the property might be condemned, and of course the house would have to be torn down. So that's why the geologists are taking a close look at this to see what happens now with the crack. These orange flags that you see spaced around here are measurements, and they're being monitored almost hourly to see how far this crack is moving.
Has it changed radically since you were there early today?
Well, it's hard for me to say. You know, it looks like it might have opened up a little bit more. It certainly changes over the space of, say, 24 hours or so. Right after the earthquake, Tuesday night, it was just a small crack in the ground, and now you see what it's like. So it's like watching a plant grow, really, a very fast-growing plant.
Thank you. Tony Russomanno reporting from the fissure. The damage estimates, once you see that, the damage estimates in the Santa Cruz Mountains continue to rise, and there is no surprise about that. Particularly hard hit were the homes just outside of Boulder Creek on Blue Ridge Road, and while many of those roads have remained closed, Channel 7's Steve Davis was able to get inside the earthquake-ravaged area. He talked to one man whose dreams were destroyed by Tuesday's quake. The prompter, please.
There's no way you could have gotten to the doors. I mean, it was only from here to Jeff from me, and I couldn't get to the door. There was just no doubt about it. It wouldn't let you go any way you wanted to go. You know, I still don't know how I managed to get onto the floor and be able to stay there for any amount of time.
The dog was flying off the wall, you said?
The what?
You said the dog?
Oh, yeah. Well, I watched Phoebe go by the one way and crash into the wall here, and then she was heading back this way. If she was going back this way, here was Taj going through the air. The Siamese was going through the air the other way. Almost like he was just sitting You know, like he'd just been laying on the bottom of the bed that same way, right? It was like he was still in that position going across. Of course, by that time, I've been beaten in the head by so much stuff. I mean, it could be possible none of this ever happened.
Afterwards, obviously, some nervous laughter. Meanwhile, geologists with county, state, and federal agencies are in that Santa Cruz area, as Tony told us, to try to learn more from Tuesday's quake.
Well, Channel 7's Carol Ivy is also in Santa Cruz covering the downtown destruction there. As it was seen by President Bush today, the president should be landing back at Andrews Air Force Base at almost any time now. But Santa Cruz was the last stop on his California earthquake tour. Carol?
Well, I'm standing here on what seems to still be the mall in downtown Santa Cruz. Let me tell you, I was talking with my colleague Tony Russomanno just before he went on the air, and he said he didn't feel the aftershock very strongly near the actual epicenter. Well, I'll tell you, it was incredible here. All the news crews went running for their cameras. We really thought it was going to happen all over again. The building shook, the windows buckled, and this was just maybe 10 minutes ago. And yet, apparently, nothing else has fallen off the buildings. There are people who are going to be going through and taking a look. It's been a kind of strange day all day. Of course, this was the day that President Bush visited Santa Cruz. It appeared for a while that he wouldn't be coming here. It's very, very cold in Santa Cruz right now, and as I said earlier, we all think it's going to rain. For a time, they thought that the airport here might be fogged in and that President Bush wouldn't be able to make his tour. But then the skies cleared a bit, and George Bush took a look at what the 6.9 earthquake did to downtown Santa Cruz, particularly here at the Pacific Garden Mall. You might be interested in knowing that the last time a sitting president visited Santa Cruz County was in 1903. Now, that's when President Teddy Roosevelt came to take a look at the redwoods. Well, I can tell you that the mood for this presidential visit was very different indeed. President George Bush arrived nearly on time to tour what's left of the Pacific Garden Mall. He was joined by a crowd of officials. The walk lasted about 25 minutes. Longer, we understand, than his other stops. What that might mean in terms of expected federal aid to this quake-ravaged city is anybody's guess.
Well, I think that FEMA will move very rapidly. I am asked them to work closely with the local authorities, from the governor on to the mayors, to get a figure. But in the meantime, the main thing is that there not be a lull. I've been very pleased with what I've told is extraordinary cooperation. And it's not just the federal role cooperating. It's the state, it's the county, it's the volunteers. God bless those volunteers when you hear that there's an enormous Red Cross effort in this relatively small community.
When it was over, local officials described the Bush visit as a positive encounter with the president. They felt he had made a definite commitment to help.
He certainly indicated an understanding of the kind of massive federal help we need to rebuild our city, and indicated that, of course, the federal government would do what it needed to do to get the job done.
He was shocked by the devastation that he saw. I think he's seen some devastation, obviously, in the Bay Area, but you've got concentrated devastation right here in the downtown area. Secondly, he did indicate that there's no question that we have to move some emergency funding on Monday. Nobody has an accurate estimate as to how much ought to go into that package, but we are looking probably right now at somewhere between $2.5 to $3 billion as an initial part of the package, and he indicated a willingness to look at that and to move it along, so that'll be very helpful.
Again, Congressman Panetta says that he is hoping that as early as Monday, Congress will act on some sort of an aid package for Northern California. I've said this before, the people here are just worried about how long that is going to take. We also want to mention that the mayor here said that what she is hoping the federal government will help with is some temporary housing for the people who are out of their homes. Only a few blocks from here, virtually half a block, in fact, you can see people living in tents on grass outside the city buildings, and that just can't continue, particularly with the fact that the weather is about to change. She mentioned trailers, mobile homes of some type that she feels the federal government might be able to bring in. But again, we don't know how soon that will happen and how long these people can maintain the conditions they're living in.
Carol, if it's any comfort to those there, you can let them know that we spoke with the American Red Cross this afternoon, that they feel they have plenty of supplies and they are trying to get foul weather gear down there in time to help all those people before the heavy rain begins.
Yes, I'm having a little trouble understanding, Ronna, but I think what you were saying is Are people encouraged by what happened today by the presidential visit?
Well, no, just telling you everything is going to be okay. American Red Cross says they have ample supplies. They're moving them into the area tonight.
Yes, I think that's absolutely true. They can use help of all kinds, and I think that the kinds of help they're going to need pretty soon are going to be very different. Again, as the mayor mentioned, there are plenty of people providing food and blankets, but what's going to happen about where these people are going to live? There are children living out on the grass.
Carol, thank you. One of the problems here, of course, is that there remains at least 30,000 people homeless on the East Coast, and this really bends the facilities of the federal government for these emergencies, and here we have the same sort of situation.
We sure do. We're just beginning, really, to fully measure the toll taken by the quake in remote and rural areas, like the one where Carol is reporting from, and Rigo Chacon has spent part of his day in Hollister and brings us more. Rigo?
Anna, before we talk about Hollister specifically, let me tell you about an item that I just received in my fax machine a little while ago that should offer some encouragement for the people in the immediate South Bay area here and in surrounding communities that we haven't focused on as we have in the communities that have been hit by tragedy or by very, very widespread damage. The fax item announces that, and we can all read politics into this, but this is in fact, encouraging for local residents because it establishes a direct contact with Washington with somebody they know. We've alluded all day, and officials have alluded all day, that the presidential visit may have had some political motive behind it to counter the criticism that had happened after the hurricane. The news in this fax item from Washington, D.C. is that Congressman Norman Mineta, who has represented this area for the past 14 years, has been appointed as the co-chair of the House Task Force to help Northern California's relief efforts. So local officials have a direct contact with somebody they know personally because Norman Mineta was mayor here in the early 70s and then became congressman. A good note to point out about the fact that there is a connection in Washington, and Washington is apparently listening to some degree. Talking about the other things that we haven't had a chance to report on, we've received calls from communities here that indeed they haven't been focused upon because they weren't hit as hard. But there are power outages here, there are gas outages, there are small problems that collectively amount to millions of dollars of damage. The fact that we haven't focused on them doesn't mean that they aren't collectively major problems across the entire South Bay. Today, as you mentioned, we visited the city of Hollister. We started by visiting the downtown area. The downtown merchants in the city of Hollister ran out of their stores and shops Tuesday afternoon when the earthquake hit, and today they had to run back in. 22 buildings here have been declared unsafe, and pending inspection and repairs, the city has ordered the places to be boarded up and declared off limits. In fairness to the fact that some of the business people absolutely need documents, cash, and personal items that were left behind, the city allowed them to go back in for 5 minutes. Some of the business people made the best of it. Some of them took a bit longer than 5 minutes, and very few of them were happy about it.
We should have had more time. I think it's sort of ridiculous to give us such a short time, but I'm thankful that I was able to get what I have.
I got a few things out for customers that I need to get to them, and things I have to get over to our Salinas office and paperwork, and that was about it.
This man came back to see the gift shop his wife runs and found it in shambles. What the earthquake hadn't destroyed, the city's heavy equipment did, because a city inspector was convinced that the place would collapse.
The building was undoubtedly unsafe, but they agreed to knock down the front top of the building, and then assess the damages, see whether or not we could come in and take out our stock. And instead of doing that, they didn't even pause. They just ran right through the building with a bulldozer. My opinion is that they've got an unqualified man stating that it was endangering the public safety.
Eventually, everyone was asked to leave the area, turn in their passes, and wait for the next opportunity to go back in, which could be several days from now. Away from the crisis in the downtown area, a more critical need is facing the general population of Hollister. One of the area's 2 main water sources was damaged by the earthquake, and much of the water is now contaminated. Those who can't boil enough water for personal use come to one of the emergency centers where they can get bottled water.
The general situation, I think, can be described as waterless. That is the main problem. Some of the other communities that were really harder hit structurally, they have that problem. Our problem is a little different. You know, we don't have as much of the building damage. We had no fatalities, thank God. But what we've got to deal with over the next week is water, and it may be that long before we get water back into people's homes.
As director of the Human Services Agency for San Benito County, Lee Collins is also in charge of the Food Stamp and Food Distribution Center.
It has a broader scope of eligibility than the usual program to account for people who have a disaster need. And so that's what we've done here. It's been in operation for 2 days. We've been putting food in people's
smells. At the high school campus in Hollister, the people left homeless and penniless can go for help and shelter. And so far, hundreds have. And hundreds continue to go to that high school and to other locations where the government of Hollister and the Red Cross and other volunteer agencies are trying to help. The fact that it's not as hard-hit as Lee Collins mentioned does not mean that those people are not in need of help. I got a call a few minutes ago while I was waiting to do the live report from somebody who wanted to help Hollister, and then a couple of calls came after that. People are willing to drive down and take blankets, baby food, canned food to those people, and I'm sure the people in Hollister would welcome that. Again, to underscore the fact that some cities that weren't hit hard are not necessarily out of crises. They need help with because of outages, and they need food and they need blankets. That call is going out on behalf of the communities that collectively have widespread damage. Anna?
Thank you, Rigo. No doubt you felt what we felt here and mentioned to you just before the 6 o'clock, when we changed personnel here, and that was another, what we thought was another aftershock. Well, now the seismographic stations at the University of California in Berkeley have confirmed that there was another aftershock that rumbled through the Santa Cruz Mountains, and it approximated 4 on the Richter scale. Not as high as some we've had, but certainly higher than thousands of others we've had in the last 3 days. Very quickly, understand that what we feel here in Oakland or San Francisco isn't nearly what they feel down there, because these aftershocks are not as strong as that 7-point quake that this all began with. Now, President Bush seemed, well, frankly, dazed today as he visited the scene of the Nimitz Freeway disaster in Oakland, and Marty Gonzalez reports live on the president's tour now. Marty?
Well, first of all, I want to tell you that we're standing here in West Oakland watching some very threatening clouds come in. It tells us that there is a storm on its way, and that is bad news for the people who've been working here since Tuesday night. They're tired, and this is not going to help at all. It's really going to hamper the efforts. In case you were wondering about how long it would take the souvenirs to start showing up, this appeared earlier today here at I-880. I survived the '89 quake. We have T-shirts now. We have bumper stickers, and I suppose someday we'll see the humor in them. The death toll is going to be much lower than what originally had been talked about. Earlier we had heard numbers all the way up into 200, 250. Now they are downscaling that to about 100. They have uncovered all of the cars, or at least they found all the cars. They hope to have them uncovered by this weekend. As you mentioned, President Bush was here today. He came with promises to do, in his words, whatever it takes to help the Bay Area get back up on its feet. For the first time in 2 days, the bulldozers have been silent. Work stopped when the president arrived. The president touched down a block from the Cypress Street structure. An hour later, Mr. Bush and his entourage of local and state politicians walked beneath a block of the most badly damaged area.
Oh, you got me wrong. Let's see, sir. Boys are going good, I'm told here. Everybody tells me so.
We're trying our best. It's a slow, difficult process.
Oh, yeah. Sounds like it.
Right now, I think we need money to put this all back together. I know it's catastrophic, the damage, the money. I think the money is the big thing right now.
People who watched the president thought it was a good idea that he came.
Now that the presidential entourage has gone, the Secret Service has left, the people can get back to normal. And that means more long hours of tough work.
Search crews believe they've located every car that was crushed by the collapsed top deck. It's far fewer than the 200 originally thought. But Caltrans is mystified as to why the 33-year-old structure collapsed.
So why this structure came down, we do not know at this time. There's some interesting phenomena when you look at the structure. When the support columns come across it at an angle, they're still standing.
Caltrans believes it will recover the victims' bodies this weekend, but the memory of Tuesday night will live forever in the mind of volunteers like Dennis Black.
It's changed everybody's life that was here. I don't think anybody understands how fragile the world is here. I mean, it's just like that. It was gone.
And that's a story that we're hearing over and over again today. The disaster is really hitting home to the people who have been touched by it the closest. And those are the people who have been working here since Tuesday night, literally without rest. Because of that, there's a counseling center that's been opened up right near this area. and they are going full bore, talking to the volunteers, talking to the rescue workers, also just talking to anyone that needs counseling. And there's a team of psychologists there, and they are very busy tonight. One psychologist told reporters today that it's likely that the people who are working here will most likely have long-term psychological problems, long-term bad memories, if you will, because of what happened here. Pete, Anna, back to you.
All right, Marty, thank you. Marty Gonzalez at Highway 880 in the Cypress section, where he has been virtually since shortly after the incident.
Right now, we want to check in with Jeffrey Schaub of Traffic Central for the latest on the situation developing right now. Jeff?
Okay, Anna, good evening. We have Doug Laughlin in Sky 7, who has been hovering over the San Mateo Bridge for the past few minutes. And as you can see, traffic there it's moving, but it is very, very, very heavy in the eastbound direction this afternoon, and that has been the case since about 3 o'clock this afternoon, and I think we can expect that in the days forward. Westbound traffic on the San Mateo, though, is moving very well. The Dumbarton Bridge is clogged up as well. And 880 from Hayward down to the Fremont area, well, that's a log jam. A good word for that. The other major trouble spots are northbound Highway 101 in Marin County, beginning at about Tiburon and continuing up to San Rafael. Look at that shot of the San Mateo there. Traffic all over the place. Give you an idea what kind of a trip it is to travel if you can't take the Bay Bridge and you're coming from the East Bay and you got to go to San Francisco. It's normally about 7 miles across the Bay Bridge. It's nearly 40 miles to go all the way down the Nimitz over the San Mateo and back up 101 into the city. A couple of other bits of information. Originally, BART had informed us that they are going to begin service again starting on Monday morning, going to 24 hours. But they actually won't go to 24-hour service until Tuesday morning. The first BART trains will operate 5:30 this Monday morning. That's the situation there. Tolls have been suspended for about the next 40 minutes or so on the Golden Gate Bridge, but just the Golden Gate Bridge, and at 7 o'clock, the tolls will go back into effect. And just one more note, tolls suspended on all bridges for the morning commutes all next week in the morning till 10 o'clock in the morning. Back to you, Anna.
Jeffrey Schaub, your traffic reports may become very, very critical as people... They are already very critical, but even more so as more and more people start to move around. Thank you very much.
Well, you see these parking lots in downtown San Francisco, and they're barely half full today, and yet you can imagine what it's going to be like come Monday. We'll be right back. We have much more for you, and you might keep a pencil and paper handy because we'll have a lot of information for you.
For a limited time on Mission Boulevard, Hayward, your one chance to get 1990 Dodges at 89 prices. The sale of the decade at Hayward Dodge. Get a Caravan, just $11,990. You pay only $199 a month. Plus special financing and cash back direct from Dodge on selected models. Get a van conversion, just $15,499 after rebate, or only $279 a month. This offer will not be repeated. Get a 1990 Dodge at an 89 price. The sale of the decade, only at the regional Dodge outlet. Hayward Dodge, Hayward. Don't wait to pay more.
When you make a bath tissue as luxuriously soft and pure as MD, people find all kinds of reasons to put it next to their skin. MD bath tissue. 2-ply, unscented, and oh so soft. MD. It's positively friendly to your skin.
5, 6, 7, and... Come on, you can do it! 6, 7... Again, 6, 7, 8.
After making it on Broadway, some of the finest entertainers around go off-Broadway. They appear on the pleasure ships of Norwegian Cruise Line. No other cruise line offers such entertainment. Norwegian Cruise Line, the best vacation you've ever had. Plus...
Some things work great together. Others don't. But the taste of Kentucky Fried Chicken and Corn is a natural. Right now, enjoy the great taste of chicken and corn and all the fixes for just $2.69. 2 pieces of juicy chicken, a tender cobblet of corn, mashed potatoes with gravy, and a fresh buttermilk biscuit, just $2.69. There's only one place for that original recipe chicken taste. Kentucky Fried Chicken, with a great tasting combination of chicken and corn.
Cross the road, Jack. Well, Kentucky Fried Chicken's got more. Cross the road, Jack.
You have to know yourself at this point and how you begin to feel 3 days after an earthquake. Disaster experts have told us time and time again that 72 hours after the event is the toughest period. This is when the adrenaline of an emergency wears off and tempers get short, emotions raw, and as the realization of the magnitude of the disaster sets in, it is normal, completely normal for everyone to have a tougher time just getting along. Jack Hansen has more for us now. He's here.
What do you think the long-term effects of this earthquake are going to be?
Well, we see it in terms of a term called post-traumatic stress syndrome. And we know from many other kind of stress-related things, such as the Vietnam War, such as being abused when you're a child, that it can last an undetermined amount of time. There will be flashbacks with some people for weeks or even months. There's people outside of the marina who are feeling it just as strongly. They're sitting in their chairs watching TV, locked to their chairs, and they're not doing anything. They're still thinking in their minds, perhaps, don't go outside, the bricks will fall on you. And they have to go outside, they have to connect. Now, if you know some people like that who are isolated, you should go in gently if they're good friends with you and see them and see if you can possibly get them out to the appropriate help.
What I'm hearing from you in some ways is this effect may go on for months or perhaps even years.
I think so too, and it's idiosyncratic. There's no predicting it. We have some notion that there's sort of an interim period of shock, and people will begin to crash into depression, compulsive thoughts, and things like that. I think the general community has to get back to normalcy, the things they know. But there are others for whom escape is an abnormal thing. There are some parties, wild parties. That's denial, okay? That's the adrenaline that takes 2 or 3 days to work through after a shock. And that's a drive to drink and have a good time, but that's a symptom also, even though it seems pleasant on the surface.
On Monday, we have the start of the full commute again. People have to come across the Golden Gate Bridge. What kind of trauma can those people expect, psychological trauma?
I think their return to an unstressful situation will be gradual. And something like a crowded, extra crowded bridge or road will lead to untoward activities, simply because they're under a stress level.
We spoke next with Dr. Eileen Sterling, a psychologist with the Saybrook Institute in San Francisco, about the problem some elderly earthquake victims might face. What kind of symptoms can we look for in older people to make sure that these symptoms are dealt with correctly?
The first that I've been seeing immediate is sleeplessness. Just lying awake at night, there's a lot of rumination and going over in your mind. Little things like I left my something by the phone, and those are the little things that keep you awake, and the big fears, of course, which keep you from thinking about the bigger fears. We do some simple relaxation exercises to help people sleep. Sometimes just talking to each other, keeping a light on at night. There's often going to be recurrent fears of, some people are really actually re-experiencing the quake, where the physical symptoms, it's like a post-traumatic stress disorder where you get waves of the initial shock coming back again. And I think it's very important to say to people, do expect there may be nightmares, but this is perfectly normal. Because it's over, it's really not over, and there's nothing wrong with you if you get an anxiety attack.
Something else we talked about today, which a lot of people are experiencing, in fact, in my own house, I'm experiencing this, where young children not only are seeing images, but hearing things that are truly shocking. And the result of that, of course, is the behavior of the children seems to be hyper. They seem to be misbehaving in quotes, and they're having a real tough time getting through it. And this is a problem that's permeating the Bay Area. The main thing to do is listen to what they have to say. Don't shut them out. If they want to come in your room at night, let them come in, counsel them, talk to them, say it's going to be okay, and give them as much support as you can possibly give them.
The family in general will feel better all together like that.
Trying to bring them together. In addition to that, if you would like to get some more counseling on your own, there are 2 places you can call. One, the Marina Counseling Center, where Dr. Durkin is from. That's 563-2137, 563-2137, or the Saybrook Institute at 441-5034, and that's located in the Red Cross building on Sutter Street in San Francisco. Both of those places will be able to give you help, and right now it is free. This is free crisis counseling.
Thanks, Jack.
You bet.
Helpful
Thanks
stuff.
very much, Jack. Some child development counselors have suggested that if you have an activity, it's a good time to focus on it together. And another note, the aftermath of disaster often leaves people feeling spiritually hungry. Even if you are not normally a churchgoer, standing in a room full of people who feel the way you do might make you feel better. Most local churches and temples are going to be holding additional services for the earthquake victims. You can look in the phone book for a place near you. Also, If the stress is getting to you, especially if you are alone and isolated, or if you have children, like what Jack was talking about, don't resist the urge to call for help. Here are some more phone numbers where experts are waiting to help you and your loved ones feel a lot better.
America's best-selling premium unleaded gasoline is now even better. With double the detergency to open clogged fuel injectors and keep them open for faster starts, better drivability. New improved SU2000. It exceeds the highest industry standard for intake valve cleanliness, and it's only from Shell. Experience the difference.
When I put on my heels for work, I know my nice, comfy cheetahs are here saying, na, 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 na. Too bad you can't wear us to work. So when I get home, I get out of my heels and I put on these. Much better. Then I take them to aerobics to punish them for making fun of me. Na, 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 na.
Cheetah, only at Mervyn's, for the clothes you love to live in.
In this fast-paced, competitive world, you need high energy to stay ahead of the game. That's why Caro's has redefined the all-American power breakfast. 2 eggs, the way you like them. Bacon and sausage, plus your choice of hotcakes, biscuits and gravy, or French toast. Served weekdays for only $2.99. So wake up to great values with Caro's Power Breakfast.
Come and see how Caro's cares for you.
And now an update on what has been happening in the area hardest hit within the city of San Francisco. Channel 7's Frank Crocker is here now with the latest.
Anna, as you mentioned, we very recently experienced another aftershock. We felt it here at Channel 7. We've checked in the marina to see if any more movement has been caused there, and apparently none has been. I can assure you from the time I spent there today, it won't take much to topple some of those barely standing structures. But the center of attention today was a homecoming of sorts. Quite a few finally got to do just that. This is what they've been waiting for the past 3 days. The right to pass through the police checkpoint at Fillmore and Cervantes and to go back home. In some cases, this is it. On Tuesday evening, 2100 North Point slid right into the street, leaving only the 3rd floor in one piece. Today, some tried to pick the intact pieces out of it.
It's a miracle. It's a miracle that everybody got out. There were 3 people in that building. 2 people are on the top floor and 1 person was on the 2nd floor when the building went. We never had much in common with each other, but we clung on to each other for the whole night. We went to the shelter, and it's amazing that we've just all, how we feel towards each other now.
But for most buildings here, this is a better illustration of what the 7 magnitude shock caused. Bad damage, but certainly not impassable. So they rushed into their apartments, and in the 15 minutes allotted them by the city, carried out all they could. In some cases, things were thrown.
Haven't had our building inspected yet. So we're just going to go in and get what we can without inspecting it.
This is more material than you can handle. All right? And you don't have a car here. You see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, now. So let's stop right now.
Some managed to get trucks into the area for major moves. Others literally hauled only what two hands could manage. All seemed pleased simply to finally be allowed to do anything. But for every one person who's managed to get back into the marina and to bring something, anything out, there are still many who wait and wait in lines, trying to get back in, trying to figure out just what their future holds. While the presidential helicopter circled overhead and others worked frantically, these people continued to stand in long lines at the Marina Middle School. They were after the authorization that would allow them to get busy with the business at hand. Patient and uncertain, and in some cases, fed up.
We've been here since 8 o'clock this morning and we didn't get anywhere. I got that yellow card because I went and pushed my way through. I know they're doing the best they can. They are. But it's not adequate.
You must feel like you're in limbo. Is there anything such thing as hope in a situation like this?
Yeah, I don't know about hope, but there is Bushmills, which is where I'll be going right after here to have a couple of drinks and then to sort it out.
A little levity finally in a disaster area. Some people are rediscovering their sense of humor in the marina.
Well, Irish whiskey aside, as we're going into Saturday and Sunday in this weather situation, Frank, first of all, do all of these people have a place to stay?
I talked with Red Cross personnel at the Marina Middle School today, and they seem to think that, at least judging by looking around today, that at least half of the people that had been there the day before were no longer there today. So the numbers at that shelter are diminishing. They're talking with people and finding out that many are meeting up with friends and staying with friends. Many are going out of the area to stay with people in other parts of the Bay Area that were weren't hit as hard. You know, so it seems to be thinning out down there. One thing I wanted to mention is that there is a feeling of relief there today. Just to be able to get in there, people are a lot happier just to be able to get a few things and carry them out, a little bit more control of their lives.
Just so I don't seem flip to folks, the Bushmills the gentleman referred to as Irish whiskey, and that's why I said that. By the way, very quickly, a call for volunteers tonight needed tomorrow at the Marina Middle School in San Francisco. People are needed from 8 in the morning. That is to sort and deliver the supplies. Now, that means that supplies are getting there, so they need some folks that are just can go over if you've got the time, if everything's all right with you, and you can call for information at 241-6559. Thanks, Frank.
Meanwhile, the earthquake is bringing out not all of the good elements, the shadier elements of society. People who prey on those who are suffering. Channel 7's Janet Yee reports on how the problem is growing and how you can avoid becoming a victim of fraud after becoming a victim of a disaster.
Where there is trauma, there are people waiting to take advantage, scam artists wanting to make a buck. That's the warning tonight from the San Francisco District Attorney's Office.
We've had everything from someone's knocking on my door saying that I have to get out now because they're going to come in and inspect it. We're going to have another earthquake. To I wanted to buy a generator and I'm realizing that I can't get it unless I'm paying exorbitant prices.
The advice is be suspicious. If you have a contractor help you with home repairs, make sure he's licensed with the state. Get 3 bids. This will give you a better idea of the average or the reasonable cost. Also, get a written agreement.
One of the scams is to try to force you to put a lot of money up front. Say you've got $1,000 worth of repairs to be done. They try to have you put up $500 up front. Under the law, state law, they can only request 10%. That's all you have to put up. The maximum is $1,000.
It's virtually a seller's market right now in terms of services and supplies. The San Francisco DA says it's happening in every county, and it's not limited to construction concerns. There are many complaints that some stores are selling batteries for 10 times the normal cost, water for $3 a gallon, and some gas stations may be jacking up the price. Now, the DA's office has a general rule of thumb. If the price is 10% more than the cost before the emergency, it is considered excessive. If you absolutely need it, if it's batteries or a flashlight, even a generator, go ahead and buy it, but save the receipt. And if you think it was too expensive, file a complaint. The consumer hotline at the San Francisco DA's office is area code 415-553-1814. You may also want to contact the Contractor State Licensing Board. In Sacramento, call area code 916-366-5153. Also, if you need repair help, if you need supplies, if you donate to disaster relief charities, don't give cash. That's the advice. Janet Yee, Channel 7 News.
That's right. A check is your receipt.
Indeed. We've got much more for you. Stay with us here on Channel 7 as we continue our special earthquake coverage.
I always thought of myself as a pretty independent person until I had a family and I started looking for health insurance. When you're on your own, you find out it's pretty expensive. If I worked for a big corporation, they'd take care of my health insurance for me. But I don't think I want to do that.
When you need answers, call on Blue Cross.
Besides, I don't know if cowboy's a job description in any corporation. You?
We care about what's good for you.
What?
Dear Will, the Widows Investment Club of Marin really appreciates those closing stocks in the afternoon paper.
It's not enough.
Yes, Will. July pork bellies? Dump 'em.
Hey, Will! Love that Friday entertainment section and its sensitive coverage of the local mine scene.
We've got to go further.
Dear William, I love the neighborhood section. Who was born? Who got married? Who got ripped off?
We've got to do more.
P.S. I can get you a police scanner at cost.
P.S. Thanks, Will. I'm sending you some steaks, man.
What more can we do to make this darn paper great?
When I decided to become a superhero, since flying and being invisible were taken, I picked Jumpman. All I need is a great pair of jumping shoes. These help a lot. I swear they were good for about 1 trillion jumps. I can wear them anywhere, and no one knows my secret identity.
Cheetah, only at Mervyn's, for the clothes you love to live in.
Let's turn now to a subject that begs some attention because it's going to create some monumental traffic problems for us. Bay Area companies are hoping to restore business as usual on Monday. Well, that means tens and tens of thousands of commuters will need to get from the East Bay to San Francisco, in fact, all over the Bay. Channel 7 Money reporter David Louie joins us now with details of what employees and companies can rationally expect. And there's got to be some rational mix here.
There's going to be some give and take, but we'll have to see what happens. There is, interestingly, no state law that requires companies to pay employees who can't get to work. So that's putting pressure on East Bay commuters to make it across the Bay some way, somehow. Most companies we contacted today are taking a benevolent approach. Bank of America, for example, will pay employees for missed days. We also checked with Saks Fifth Avenue, and they won't say what their policy is. Approximately 1/3 of the 1,500 employees at Levi Strauss in San Francisco live in the East Bay. The company already offers workers a limited flex time arrangement, but now they will be given even more flexibility.
We've instructed our managers and supervisors to allow employees as much time off, as much flexibility around child care issues, whatever really is needed to take care of themselves first.
Levi Strauss is also trying to help workers organize carpools, as is Kaiser Hospitals and other Bay Area companies. Levi Strauss is also going to offer employee assistance with a human dimension.
We had an employee meeting for any of those people who wanted to just talk about the earthquake, talk about the trauma to themselves, to their families, to their children. We're going to be starting some noontime sessions next week for employees to come and talk and just, have a place, a support system, if you will, for themselves.
There has been no regional effort to direct companies on what to do or how to alleviate the widely anticipated gridlock on Monday. No major San Francisco company we're aware of has opened temporary offices in the East Bay, for example, to alleviate the commute crunch. And no major San Francisco company we're aware of with existing East Bay office space has diverted workers. The closure of the Bay Bridge, possibly for a few weeks and maybe for longer, is unprecedented. So companies are coping and are asking their employees to cope as well. Those with serious earthquake damage may be off the job for the foreseeable future. As many as 20 federal assistance centers will be open by next week to take applications for government grants and low-interest loans. Applications are expected to reach into the tens of thousands. So it will take time for victims to back up their applications with documents and for the government to process them. The One-Stop Disaster Centers will offer a wide range of services.
There could be everything from replacing a pair of lost eyeglasses, and that might come through the Red Cross or the Salvation Army, to loans to repairing property and replacing personal furnishings, any number of programs that people might qualify for.
There are some tips to help speed up the process. First, document your damage by taking pictures. Second, check with your insurance agent to see if your homeowner's policy will cover any of the damage. Then go to a FEMA disaster center. FEMA is still trying to locate sites throughout the Bay Area for its disaster assistance centers. They hope to announce those locations sometime this weekend. The first offices could be open by Sunday. Now, there are two kinds of government financial aid, loans and grants. Low-interest loans are good for up to $100,000 of real estate damage caused by the earthquake, and up to $20,000 in loans for personal belongings destroyed during the quake. If you don't have a job and can't pay back a loan, you might apply for grants of up to $10,400. As for those who have to go back to work on Monday, be prepared for the challenge of crossing the bay. It may become a way of life for weeks, and dare I say, possibly for months.
And the big thing to tell people is relax.
Try to relax.
That's the hardest
thing. It's going to be so tough to do that sitting out there.
Hopefully the employers are going to be patient, too.
And David, because there is no precedent, maybe we ought to make it known if you have to get messages to your employees and you are a major employer in the Bay Area, we'll try to get the word out.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course. Thank you, David. Very good. Well, we've got some weather to be concerned with over this weekend as well, and Peter Giddings will be along with that in just a moment.
You were never that blonde.
Telesis. It means progress intelligently planned.
Tell Aunt Kathy what you got for your birthday.
This is a story of Telesis.
Lucky girl. Look, she thinks I'm right there. She knows you're a telephone.
Hi, it's me. Yeah. Is Eric there?
Hey, the uniform looks great, pal.
You nervous?
By the 21st century, a child will see for 1,000 miles.
Really proud of you.
Thanks, Dad.
Because the same telephone lines that carry thousands of voices could also deliver pictures worth 1,000 words. Life-size and lifelike. It's just one of the things the Pacific Telesis Group is working on today to get you ready for tomorrow.
Oh, be quiet, because Grandpa's got something to say.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, it's just a telephone now. But the 21st century is only 11 years away.
Our low prices every day just dropped even lower. It's Montgomery Ward's lowest prices of the year sale. Right now, many of our low prices are even lower on great brand names throughout the store. We're so confident of our low prices, we guarantee we'll match any store's advertised sale price. It's just another way we guarantee your satisfaction and another reason to hurry in to our lowest prices of the year sale.
Montgomery Ward's the brand name savings store.
Wells Fargo now delivers a new standard for speed. 5-minute max. Our customer service managers will get you to a teller in less than 5 minutes, or you'll get $5 added to your Wells Fargo checking account. Top-notch people, top-notch service, even at high noon on paydays. 5-minute max, guaranteed.
Right on time.
If your bank isn't up to speed, why wait around? Wells Fargo comes through again.
You know, we began these special broadcasts here in our newsroom on Tuesday right after the earthquake, and we simply have stayed here because it's much easier for us to work here with all the people we've got trying to get information and get it on the air as fast as possible. This is where the phones are and everything, but Peter Giddings has been separated from a lot of the stuff he needs to really explain the weather, and he is back down now in the studio, the first to make it back down there, and he's got the information for you that we need this weekend. Peter?
And what we're going to talk about is this low-pressure system that is now formed and is stalling the system. It's good and it's bad. It's good in that it is giving us more dry time. The rain is now from about here to the north, but in the central portion of the of the blob of clouds here. And as this thing sits out here and spins, it's bringing up more and more moisture into it. But we'll notice a number of things. For example, winds will pick up and die down. Clouds will start moving in a much more northerly direction, almost the opposite from where you would expect they would go. And the jet stream is continuing to edge our way, carrying the energy of the system with it. As we get rid of it, you can actually see in this general area the bowing. Can you see that right in there? There's a bowing that's going on. All of a sudden, the southern end is now moving 20 miles an hour faster than the northern end, but it'll all catch up, and the rain will continue to spread over the area. You can see where it was in our latest radar shot. Now, as far as the forecast, let's see what we are going to go with as far as the next, try 48 hours. I don't like going that far, but we have rain now, and it is moving south. Tomorrow, definitely rain by the time you wake up over the entire area, continuing to move south into Southern California. Saturday night, we get a respite between it and the next system that should be in on Sunday. And believe it or not, there are more systems beyond these two, so that showers and inclement weather should last all the way into Wednesday of next week. Our own Joel Bartlett is out at the Vista Point area. Joel is looking at the weather directly and has an anemometer with him. What's going on, Joel?
Right now, but it is very blustery. I am holding the handheld anemometer. The wind is blowing in fits and gusts. We've had some gusts between 25 and 30 miles an hour. Right now, of course, I'm sheltering the wind myself a little bit, but they're blowing around 15 to 20 miles an hour. You'll notice the wind vane here is pointing to the south or the southwest. A little while ago, it was pointing to the southeast. It points into the winds. That means the wind is blowing out of the south and the southwest, and that indeed is the rain direction. Now, of course, the winds have been up to 40 miles an hour in the Bay Area this afternoon. It's very windy, and the winds are influenced considerably by topography. We expect it, as Pete just said, to be rather cool and blustery right on through the weekend with the rain starting later tonight. But let me show you a beautiful sight right now. The traffic flowing smoothly on the Golden Gate Bridge. We've got 3 lanes in each direction. And it took me about 25 or 30 minutes to drive from our studios on the Embarcadero over here to the Golden Gate Bridge. So the traffic really not that bad this evening. Of course, as we've been saying all along, we expect it to be much more traffic when the big crunch hits and everybody goes back to work on Monday. Anyway, in the wind here and the clouds, blowing very blustery here at Vista Point. I'm Joel Bartlett. Pete, back to you.
We have the clouds, and it is coming from the rain direction. Now it's simply a matter of time, and by tomorrow, as I said, when we're back with you, we'll be talking about the rain. Okay, Pete, Nana?
All right. Thank you, Peter, and we will be back to you to talk about the rain, too. Coming up next, get ready to jot down some phone numbers. We'll have more numbers that you can use after the break. Grab a pen or pencil.
This is your one chance to get a 1990 Dodge at an 89 price. The sale of the decade, only at the regional Dodge outlet. Hayward Dodge, Hayward. Don't wait to pay more.
C&R Clothiers is there when you need us. Another reason C&R is now open at 8 a.m. Monday through Friday.
Anyone who drives at night knows how important road signage is to safety. That's why 3M is improving signs like this, with brighter signs like this, made with reflective materials invented by 3M to help you see better at night. In fact, the sign on the right is up to 10 times brighter than the sign on the left. And that makes a difference anyone can see. 3M Reflective Materials, another example of how a 3M innovation is working for you.
Benihana, 25 years later. Benihana, 25 years later. Nothing has changed.
My family loves egg noodles, but noodles are made with egg yolks, and egg yolks are loaded with cholesterol. So I found something different with no cholesterol. They're called no yolks. They look like regular egg noodles, taste like them too, but no yolks are better. They're made with only the egg white, so there's no cholesterol. They're lighter and fluffier. They don't collapse and stick together. And no yolks taste terrific. So try them in your favorite noodle recipes. You'll like them. No yolks.
Bay Area motorists have been without the Bay Bridge for 3 days now. 3 days of trying to find an acceptable alternative to the main artery between San Francisco and Oakland. Channel 7's Paul Jeske traveled out on the bridge today to find out how the repairs are progressing. He describes the experience as strangely disquieting.
The California Highway Patrol led a Channel 7 news team onto the deserted bridge from the San Francisco side. It's an eerie feeling traveling along the normally jammed Trans-Bay link between San Francisco and the East Bay. You fight back nervousness as you notice Caltrans crews inspecting the span for earthquake damage. And then suddenly you're at the abyss, this gaping rectangular hole 230 feet over the water, where the cantilever section joins with the incline portion of the bridge. A huge 300-foot floating crane is anchored below the damaged portion. The plan is for workmen to sever the broken section's last ties with the upper deck and lower the broken piece to a waiting barge. Caltrans has hired several local engineering firms to tackle the huge repair job.
We expect to reuse that upper deck section, and that'll be the finesse of carefully lifting a piece out so that it can be put back in again in a usable fashion after we've done some repairs. The bottom deck section is buckled, badly buckled. It'll be wasted. And with Caltrans design that they're doing now, we'll put new pieces back in to replace that bottom deck section.
Iron workers took a few minutes off about mid-morning when a fleet of helicopters carrying the presidential party flew by on an inspection tour. The president's chopper hovered next to the damaged section for about 5 minutes, so President Bush could take in the full extent of the damage. If all goes well, engineers hope to get the damaged section out by late Sunday, but that's dependent on favorable weather. And by early afternoon, high winds were complicating the job. To give you an idea of just how severe these winds are, if I weren't holding this lane closed sign, with just about all of my might, it would take off and sail like a kite. And that's why work was temporarily suspended this afternoon because of danger to Caltrans workers.
Rain won't stop us, just slow us down, make it more miserable. The wind is really a problem to us. When you're doing heavy lifting, the wind makes it difficult for us to control our work the way we like.
The best guess on a reopening date? Maybe by Christmas. On the Bay Bridge, Paul Jeske, Channel 7 News.
Just what you were afraid of, wasn't it? They started off with a 3-week delay, then 4 weeks yesterday. We heard them say that, and now they're talking about Christmas, and it's just a terribly difficult job. Now, other major roads and freeways were damaged by the quake. Since Tuesday, crews have been working around the clock to inspect or repair the highways, but many are still closed. So here's a rundown of what's closed and how you can get around those bottlenecks. For those of you coming into San Francisco, the Bay Bridge is, of course, still closed, and it will be for perhaps a month or more. The Embarcadero Freeway is also closed, so if you're coming north on 101, take an earlier San Francisco exit. The Interstate 280 extension from Highway 101 to 6th Street is closed, but you can take the Central Freeway to downtown. Going to the Golden Gate Bridge is slow going, period. The Franklin Street off-ramp has been closed due to structural damage. Traffic must exit at Fell. Many streets in the marina are still closed, and officials request you stay away from that area. Use Lombard or 19th Avenue to get to the Golden Gate Bridge. The Gough Street on-ramp to the Central Freeway is also closed. You'll have to make your way to Oak Street. Across the bay, if you want to get around the toppled 880 Cypress structure, you can go from I-80 to 580. Westbound 980 has been closed on and off. If it's open, you can take it to connect with 880. If it is not, there will be signs directing you to surface streets, or you can go all the way down 238. Just reverse the route if you're coming north. 980 eastbound is open. In the North Bay, all major roads are open, but be careful along the coast. Highway 1 has been closed in Sonoma County between Highway 116 and Timber Cove. Down south, the situation around Santa Cruz is still an extremely difficult one, with Highway 17 closed starting at Highway 9. The Highway 1 bridge over Struve Slough is also closed, and so is Highway 25. Only residents of Hollister can use this road at all. Just south of Santa Cruz, watch for detours along Highway 1. Again, be extremely careful along the coast. Loosened rocks can fall at any time.
Well, you've made it very clear that one of the biggest concerns of the Bay Area is about Monday morning's commute. With so many roads closed, how will you get from one place to the next? Channel 7's Jim Vargas joins us now, and he's got more tips for travel.
Well, there certainly are some ways to get around the Bay Area come Monday, and the best ways are on some form of public transportation. Now, that's a line, of course, we've been hearing in the Bay Area for years in normal times. Well, if today's commute is any indication, we're all going to start learning how true it is in just a few days. East Bay commuters who tried to get to San Francisco via Marin had long drives. There were no tolls charged on the Golden Gate Bridge, but it all came to a halt on Doyle Drive. That's because the Marina Boulevard exit was closed, and the Army was turning commuters back who tried to cut through the Presidio.
We've got to get more people into carpools and hopefully riding the ferry boats and the buses.
Well, buses were running at capacity, and some commuters found standing room only on ferries. But more ferries are being added for the expected Bay Area-wide tie-up on Monday. Golden Gate will run its usual schedule from Sausalito and Larkspur with extra parking for East Bay commuters who want to leave their cars in Larkspur. Red and White and Blue and Gold Fleet's ferries will offer service to San Francisco from Oakland's Jack London Square every 20 to 30 minutes from 6:30 to 11:30 every morning. Then hourly, then every 20 to 30 minutes again from 4 to 10 p.m. There will also be ferry service from Richmond. The boats leave from Richmond Container Terminal number 3 at the foot of Harbor Street South at 6, 7, 8, and 9 a.m. and dock at San Francisco's Pier 9 near the ferry building. Late commute boats leave San Francisco hourly from 4:30 to 7:30 each night. There is plenty of parking in Richmond. The Red and White Vallejo ferry will make its usual runs to San Francisco at 6 and 6:30 a.m., and the late commute boats leave San Francisco for Vallejo at 5:15, 6:15, and 7:40. The Tiburon to San Francisco ferries will run at 7:05, 7:55, and 8:30 each morning, and leave San Francisco for Tiburon at 4:25, 5:25, 6:15, and 7:15. And BART begins 24-hour service on Monday. And the Peninsula Caltrain from San Jose to San Francisco will increase runs beginning Monday as well. The bus lines are making adjustments too. AC Transit buses, which usually cross the Bay Bridge, will now run to nearby BART stations and the Jack London Square and Richmond ferries. Muni expects a return to normal service by Monday, plus shuttles for those people arriving on ferries to the financial district. Samtrans is adding buses to several routes. 5L runs from Palo Alto to the Daly City BART station, 90E from Hayward BART to Hillsdale Shopping Center and the Caltrain depot in San Mateo. Samtrans is also adding a new line. The 3X will run from Daly City BART to the United Airlines and San Francisco Airport Maintenance Terminal. Two important notes here. One is that the information we just put on the air is as up-to-date as we can make it, but it is subject to change. And the other is that if you find ferries either convenient or comfortable, you should beware they are not inexpensive. Golden Gate is charging $10 for a round trip from the East Bay, and even then, rather not Golden Gate, but Red and White, and even then, they say that they're going to lose money on all of this.
Is that their regular fare, or is it lower than their regular fare, or higher?
Well, they don't normally go from Jack London Square
Well,
back and forth.
Yeah, that's right.
But they say they can do maybe 20,000 people a day, move 20,000 people a day, and they'll still lose money.
Okay.
One of the things Jim is saying about how quickly that might change is something that will probably keep you tuned in, because over the weekend, of course, we'll bring you updated reports on the transportation needs and Monday's commute and all of those things.
We're coming right back.
I had my purse snatched on a business trip. I was stranded. No cash, no plane ticket, no credit card, no ID. I called Citibank immediately.
I told her not to worry. With Citibank's Lost Wallet service, I could get her emergency cash, help replace her plane ticket, and get a new Citibank MasterCard to her in 24 hours.
Citibank helped me get home. And after a trip like mine, that's where I wanted to be.
Not just MasterCard, Citibank MasterCard.
Some airlines do a lot of business in this country. Some do a lot overseas. I know. I practically live on planes. Fortunately, there is an airline that's equally at home both here and abroad.
The TWA network covers over 150 cities in 18 countries, including over 125 cities in the U.S. alone.
When you do business all over, you need an airline that flies there.
Today's TWA. Find out how good we really are.
Beautiful, shiny, healthy hair doesn't end in the salon. It continues every day with Vidal Sassoon shampoos and conditioning rinses. Vidal Sassoon shampoos cleanse to give you shine you can see. And Vidal Sassoon conditioners add manageability you will notice. Vidal Sassoon. If you don't look good, we don't look good.
Every single car Hertz offers for sale is a carefully selected, late model that's been very well cared for and solidly backed. So picking out a Hertz car should be easy. But it isn't. Hertz car sales, like no used car you're used to. See your Hertz Bay Area locations.
These days, even the sports news is laced with help for the earthquake victims.
Very much so, yeah, very much so in this story. You'll be happy to hear that the 49ers and the Patriots, as you know, are going to play football Sunday in Palo Alto, while the World Series waits for the final word from the mayor of San Francisco for the go-ahead to play baseball at Candlestick Tuesday. What is clear is that football and baseball both have made plans to contribute to the Earthquake Relief Fund. 85,000-seat Stanford Stadium will be the site for Sunday's 1 o'clock kickoff, and the 49ers are paying all costs for this game. Everything from ushers to traffic control, anything that will cause stress on the system to stage a game. In addition, the 49ers, who last played at Stanford in the '85 Super Bowl against Miami, will make a considerable contribution to the Earthquake Relief Fund, and so will Stanford, with all net proceeds from the sale of 15,000 tickets going to that fund. A number of student volunteers will also be used at that game. Yes, we've had many calls on this from people suggesting this is what baseball should do, and they are going to do it. Major League Baseball, with its plans for monies to be given to the Earthquake Relief Fund. Commissioner Fay Vincent addressed that matter the other day.
A number of the participants here, including ABC, the Players Association, represented by Mr. Fear and Mr. Orza, Major League Baseball, and the Giants and the Oakland A's are going to combine to make what we believe will be a meaningful contribution to the appropriate communities here to help in this very bad circumstance.
Well, it will not be certain until Monday whether Candlestick Park will definitely be ready. That's when city officials will decide whether to certify the stadium as safe. They're going to be pouring concrete in Section 53 by tomorrow even. After a practice at the Stick today, the Giants paid a visit at the downtown Moscone shelter to hand out gifts to families left by the homeless by the quake. If and when that series resumes, since weather may soon become a factor in this now, neither the A's or the Giants plan any form of a champagne celebration when it's all over, if in fact they get to play it. One other thing for those of you who might be going to Stanford tomorrow for the college football game and then on to Stanford Sunday for the 49er game, they will be more than happy to take any donation you might have in the way of canned food or a blanket for the homeless, and I'm sure it will be well received, and a little sunshine to you all. Another great idea.
You know, if you start hearing the comments about people wondering whether or not this is a good idea, the logic at Stanford and with the 49ers in baseball is the Bay Area needs some things to look forward to.
Right. And we're talking about thousands and thousands of dollars of donations here, and obviously it might help. We'll be right back.
Byron Allen has Pop's #1 family, the Jets. Funny man, Dave Coulier.
Everything loose that I was doing for a while.
His makers, Young MC.
Disrupt the move!
And 30-somethings, Melanie Mayron. Fun and craziness on the Byron Allen Show, Saturday at midnight on Channel 7.
The earthquake has left many of our Bay Area neighbors in need of aid. To help, send your donation to the American Red Cross, care of KGO TV and radio. We'll see that it gets to them.
Last time I needed my passport, people everywhere. Long lines.
Next, please.
Are you closed today? Where are the crowds?
You want crowds? You should see this place in spring and summer. Too many people wait until then to apply for their passports.
But I've got all this stuff.
Save it for your vacation. May I have your application? Avoid the crowds. Get your passport during the fall and winter months.
Check out the best territory, First Interstate Bank territory, where you can get the best checking account there is, whether you write many checks or a few, whether you want to earn interest or get extra services. Only your First Interstate checking account lets you cash a personal check in more cities and states than any other bank system. So open a checking account at First Interstate Bank. We go the extra mile for you.
My wife says, let's take up racquetball. It'll be good for us. Buys me these cheetahs. Says they'll cushion Chuck. My arms hurt. My head hurts. My hair hurts. But she was right. My feet feel great. If she wants to play another game, my feet are up to it, but my body's sitting this one out.
Cheetah, only at Mervyn's, for the clothes you love to live in.
You know, for almost everyone in the Bay Area, this was a week like no other week. The events and the memories will probably last us a lifetime. Now, we realize many of our viewers were without power during the hours and days that immediately followed the quake. So we want to take a few minutes, just a few minutes now, and look back at some of the moments that you may not have seen. The evening of the 17th started out, obviously, innocently enough, with most of us tuned to Channel 7 to watch the World Series. And here's what happened.
Zoom into Candlestick Park in the southeastern corner of this city. For the first time in 27 years, a World Series game will be played in Candlestick Park. The Battle of the Bay continues.
But flash forward to the bottom of the fourth inning. Dave Parker barely, by inches, just misses a home run. Candy Maldonado with the hesitation, allowing Jose Canseco to score, and he fails to get Dave Parker at second base, so the Oakland A's take
you know what, we're having an earth.
Stay here.
This is what happened here when the quake hit. Burglar alarms were set off. The power lines were swaying. As I said, power was cut off to this area.
Now, the important thing to remember is check your gas mains. That is the first and most important thing you have to do in case of a gas leak. You don't want to run the risk of a fire. Ana Chavez has just come in. Ana, do you have some late information coming
We are
around here?
just getting reports from our crews on the scene that there is a major fire.
There are some fires, obviously, in the city of San Francisco. Again, as we take a look at that, that appears to be what would be the Marina District.
Come through. Anybody have a traffic?
It shook, and I mean it shook. There was no little short thing before. It shook, and I grabbed onto the wall. I was standing in the doorway, and I grabbed onto the wall, and they were...
We're on the Oakland Bay Bridge. It's just a little bit after the earthquake. They sent us down here, surprisingly, in the wrong direction. There's another car. Gosh! That could have been us, but... Yeah, that could have been us, but we just turned around.
It's been a frightening scene here. As you can see, just below me is where 50-foot section. You see down there below the two cars that were on the upper deck when the bridge collapsed.
You guys want to pick it up? Okay, ready?
looking bad over here in Oakland. The electricity is out in much of the city, and we have a bad freeway collapse. It's that ramp of the Nimitz Freeway that goes from Cypress Street on up to the Bay Bridge. About a 6 or 7 block stretch of it collapsed during the earthquake. There have been ambulances going in and out of...
Ladies and gentlemen, we are postponing the game because there is no power in the stadium. We would like you to leave in an orderly way. I don't believe there's any great danger.
Power failure, therefore the game will be postponed. We ask that you hold on to your tickets as rain checks will be honored.
This stadium was full when this earthquake occurred here. At first it frightened people, then this kind of calm. Everyone is standing. There are probably 10 to 12,000 people still in the stadium, and police have just asked that the field and the stadium be cleared. Power...
It's just something that happens here in San Francisco.
Esther, was it pretty scary up there for you all?
Very scary. We were out here on the Bay Bridge. In fact, we were driving over the Bay Bridge when the earthquake struck. We understand from the Caltrans folks that the top portion, that 50-foot portion you saw before, did collapse onto the bottom of the Bay Bridge. We understand that 2 cars that were driving on the top also fell with that piece, but the people escaped their cars uninjured.
I was in a car, and we were just going through the Treasure Island Tunnel, and all of a sudden the lights all went out, and you could tell something was wrong, and smoke was coming out of the power cables, but the top deck came down on the lower deck. And I sure hope...
Interesting, there's not much traffic.
As a matter of fact, feel lucky.
With me is Berkeley Sergeant Ron Barella. Ron, you were here very early in all of this. What was it like when you first got here?
You could very clearly hear the sounds of the drums inside exploding. You could see flames coming out from all of the windows. The flames were going very near to the adjacent buildings. You could feel the heat from the sidewalk over here. You could feel the heat clearly from the interiors of the buildings just to the west of it.
We're going to take a walk inside the terminal here and show you exactly what happened out here. As you can see, it looks pretty much like a war zone. Ron, if you can pan down here, this is all the drop ceiling in the new international terminal. It's that...
we were at the San Mateo Bridge earlier, Don, and I can tell you it was closed at that time. I do not know if it is still closed. I am sorry, because at this point we have moved north to the Amfac Hotel in Burlingame. The hotel is behind me. What you can see is what is left of the elevator shaft.
Reporting from the Emergency Operations Center here in the South Bay, of the 3 largest cities in the Bay Area, we appear to be the luckiest, the most visible.
40,000 is about 10 miles from the epicenter of the earthquake. You would expect the damage to be severe here, and it is. The downtown section of Santa Cruz is basically gone. All the old brick, unreinforced buildings have collapsed. This is a department store called Ford's. It collapsed. The second story came down into the first floor, trapping several people inside. At least 3 people are known to have died here on the mall, perhaps 12 to 14 total in Santa Cruz. Authorities do not have a final fatality figure.
Pretty much the whole mall had come down, and there was a woman screaming inside the Ford's department store. About 10 of us jumped in right away, and since then we've been up and down the mall trying to find anybody else.
Well, you can see this block of Divisadero is practically entirely on fire. The house on the right is the first one that went, and it went because of a natural gas main.
Prepare yourselves! Prepare yourselves! Shut off the gas! Shut off electricity! Store water in your bathtub! Don't expect services for...
And as I was standing out here, the quake was still going, and that's when that complex down there went. And I ran down there a broken window and yelled in, and she screamed, I broke a window, and she climbed out. As you can see, nothing's wrong with her. And then she told us that there was 2 girls down below her that she heard talking. And after about 25 minutes or so, when the police and the fire department and paramedics were all there, they used the jaws to get in there and get down, because that's the 4th level. They used it to get down one more level to get the 2 girls out.
I just saw the chandelier shaking, and I was just thrust forward towards my front bay window. And I didn't realize I was at ground level. I thought I was still up on the 3rd floor, but I looked out the window and there were bikers there, and he helped me out. And there were 2 people trapped underneath me, and I could hear them screaming.
How's my friend? She's fine. Floor in the back. Right next door, next door. Take a blow, bud. Right? Yeah, down. Okay.
Well, the city seems in reasonably good shape. We have no reports of any disorder at this time. Everybody are being good citizens, which...
Just come out here and help the city out,
You're looking right now at some of the people who are waiting for help. Upstairs, the rooms are filled. There are children sleeping. Some people even brought along pets. Again, I guess until you come down here, you don't realize how incredibly devastating this earthquake was and how many lives were affected. Is he okay?
Yes, I'm okay. I'm okay.
Yeah, how did you get out?
By the window.
You climbed out the fire escape?
No, I didn't. People climbed for me and they brought me down. I couldn't do it myself. I was shaken.
And you're okay?
I'm okay.
You okay?
I want to say the young people were just wonderful, how they helped us. People we never knew and they never knew us, but they carried us in their arms down the stairs, and they didn't leave us one minute.
There's been a steady stream of the stranded coming in here since about 6:30 tonight, when word got out that there's food here, that there's water here, phones, and that people are safe here.
I think Red Cross Golden Gate chapter, they prepare us like volunteers for this one and more. And the only I can say is I know how the power of God, but I try the best from the Red Cross to the people.
Hi, Mom. Marilyn.
We love you, Mom.
We're okay, Mom. Hi, Tony. We survived 6.9. We survived 6.9.
Well, you're standing in front of your house. I guess the harsh reality of daylight is proven how devastating this quake is.
Sure. So, it's amazing. I just didn't think this was going to happen to this, I had heard about the fire down there, but I didn't think it was going to be down here as well. It makes you put everything in perspective.
Perspective indeed. Looking at that again, that was put together by one of our producers over the course of the last 2 days, looking at all these things so we could give you a sense, for those of you who had not seen some of the early events because of power outages and whatnot, exactly what is going on. And again, I'm reminded of the amazing behavior of people in this city.
We are lucky to have such good neighbors, to be together in this community. If this had to happen, that we could work together this way.
Let us just once again remind you to get your pens and paper ready, because we have a list of phone numbers now. Phone numbers you may find helpful during the long coming days. right, we just have a couple of quick traffic advisory for you. Road closure locations at, let's see, northbound 101 at the Richardson Bay Bridge, Marin County. Lanes are blocked there, numbers 4 and 5. There is apparently a difficulty there. We don't know what they are, but we want to keep you posted on these things. 2 right northbound lanes on the Richardson Bay Bridge closed for inspection now of expansion joints. And we have also received reports that the joints have expanded beyond their reasonable expectations, so there is concern there tonight.
Obviously, the transportation story will continue to change, and we'll keep you posted. One bright note, we have all seen from Watsonville to Oakland to the marina the tremendous need. And once again, we want to thank you for the help you've already sent and offer to continue to send your donations to the earthquake victims. If you'd like to send a donation to the American Red Cross, you can mark your check Northern California Earthquake Victims. If you want to designate a specific community, you can mark your check that way too. Whatever you do, the money is going to go to good use. Send it to Channel 7, Box 7, San Francisco 94101. Thank you. Thank you so much for your generosity. So far, we have assisted in gathering more than $400,000 in corporate and group donations.
It's amazing, and some of these letters are, I'd love to read them to you, and perhaps we'll have some time to do that as we go on with all of this. But again, thank you for watching us tonight. We'll be back at 11 o'clock.
Thanks for being with us.
Good night.
Try to stay calm tonight.
He's loved around the world, but can Julio Iglesias win him over in the Soviet Union? The exclusive inside stories only on Entertainment Tonight.
Friday at 7:30 on Channel 7.
No, you don't need to bring anything.
You called a few friends.
See you sick.
Everyone pitched in, and with a little help from Nor, something wonderful happened. First, you warmed everyone up with fine herb soup.
Isn't that great?
Then you made delicious Nor sauces.
Here, try this.
Simmered the rice in a savory bouillon, and finally, you whipped up a luscious chocolate mousse. Turn something
Pizza sauce, our competitor cut his labor costs 50%.
What can we cut?
Nothing. We're Round Table. By not using that fancy pepperoni, our competitor cut his topping costs 50%.
We're Round Table. Find something we can do?
I'm cutting our competitor
by 50%.
Ouch.
Listen to Coit 96.5 FM at work, the one station everyone agrees on. KOIT, 96.5 FM, 1260 AM.
You're watching KRON-TV, Channel 4. From the News Center for Northern California, Suzanne Shaw, Bob Jimenez, Mark Thompson's Neighborhood Weather, and Gary Radnich with sports. Now, News Center 4 at 10.
Aftershocks that can still do more damage are now the concern in the Bay Area. Jittery nerves are jangled 3 more times. The latest shock just this afternoon. Good evening, I'm Emerald Ye for Suzanne Shaw.
Good evening, I'm Bob Jimenez. No damage reported from these aftershocks, but they are shaking up emotions again as people try to get back to some semblance of regular life. Here's the rundown. Yesterday, there was a 4.5 aftershock northeast of Santa Cruz. This morning, 3.7. And again this afternoon, the third aftershock near Aptos, this one measuring 3.8 on the Richter scale. Here are the latest revised figures on quake damage now. The dollar estimate now stands at more than $7 billion, making this quake the costliest natural disaster in American history. And there's been a big hike in estimates of those made homeless by the quake, now nearly 14,000 people.
In Los Gatos, half the downtown merchants are back in business. But getting gas service restored has been a problem. 3,000 customers in Los Gatos and Santa Cruz are still without gas. And there's also concern over Los Gatos' historic buildings. City officials say they'll ease demolition requirements to try to save those buildings.
The wine industry in Santa Cruz and Santa Clara counties has been hit very hard by Tuesday's big earthquake. They're just getting around to assess the damage, and as Anthony Moore reports tonight, wineries are already reporting losses in the millions.
It is a season of sour grapes at the new Mirasu champagne cellars in Los Gatos. The winery had scheduled the grand opening of this facility in November, but the quake toppled those plans.
We have to keep these here to let the carbon dioxide settle down after the earthquake.
Because? What could happen?
Because you move them around too much and they can and will explode.
These bottles would have sold for $500,000 retail. Fortunately, there is champagne left at Mirasu, and now the vintners are turning their grand opening into a benefit for the Los Gatos Earthquake Relief Fund. The proceeds will go to those people in need. We're neighbors helping neighbors, Jim Mirasu explained. At J. Lore Winery in San Jose, the quake harvested bitter damage too. It nearly toppled these 5 wine tanks.
There's nothing you can do with them. We're just gonna throw the tanks away. They're useless at this point. It's like a crushed beer can.
Nico estimates 20% of his production is lost, $100,000. But the quake all but shattered Jerry O'Brien's wine business. Fire reduced his Silver Mountain winery to ashes. These were barrels full of Chardonnay and Zinfandel.
It's the biggest thing in my life. I don't have a family. I'm not married, so this was my life.
O'Brien salvaged about 1,000 cases of wine. They'd been stacked neatly in this garage until the quake sent them flying. O'Brien says an insurance adjuster put his loss at $500,000. There are similar stories at the 36 other wineries in the hills around the quake's epicenter, but in a business where you are at the mercy of the weather, say these farmers, an earthquake is just another blow from Mother Nature they'll have to endure. Anthony Moore, News Center 4.
The quake may also have wiped out Hollister's main source of jobs. An entire year's crop was destroyed at the town's tomato canneries. Mike O'Connor reports.
San Benito County's #1 employer is in shambles, and there's fear it won't recover from the earthquake. If it doesn't, it means workers like these may not recover either. During the harvest, 1,100 people work in one of the county's 2 tomato canneries. Steve Arnaldi of San Benito Foods says the whole year's production was dumped by the earthquake.
We have 8 warehouses, and this time of year our pack is just finished. We roughly have 20 million cans in storage.
How many of them look like this?
Roughly 80% of those.
The cans are broken or dented, and says Arnaldi it might cost more to salvage them than they're worth. He adds losing a whole year's production could put the canneries out of business.
It'll be months before we get this cleaned up and decide what we have left.
In Hollister, the county's biggest city at about 19,000 people, many businesses are still shut down. The city manager says this tiny town has more than $130 million in damage, making it one of the hardest hit by the earthquake. Margarita Martinez lost most of what she owns, but if the canneries don't open next season, she says she and her family will lose everything else. The canneries have given work to generations of poor families in Hollister. The work is seasonal, but it pays well. And until now, they've been able to count on it year after year. Sylvia Ruiz can't imagine where people would find work without them.
No. Totally no.
So here, the real aftershock could be a few months from now, if the canneries can't reopen. In Hollister, Mike O'Connor, News Center 4.
Meanwhile, in Watsonville, at least 1,200 people are still sleeping in shelters tonight, but dozens are living in makeshift tents in one of the city's parks. Tonight, relief officials pleaded with a lot of these families to pack up their tents and move to shelters where it's cleaner and where there's food. But most families stayed on, many fearing immigration checks, others desperate to cling to some sense of privacy. Officials say that they may be forced now to come back and close down the park.
In San Francisco's devastated Marina District, the bulldozers are working overtime. But determined residents are working just as hard, digging in the rubble to salvage what they can from the ruins before they're taken away.
Well, you stay at the fringe of the pile, and if you see something that you want, you go in and they stop the cats and so forth.
This is all that's left of the apartment where John Hunter used to live. And this is his living room.
I've gotten 8 boxes of books. I'm a book collector.
And neighbors are finding other treasures.
Now I know what the miners felt like.
But Linda Lamp hasn't been lucky.
I'd like to find some shoes, but unfortunately I was on the first floor and I think I'm at the bottom. My things are really squashed.
Both John and Linda are staying with friends while they're looking for new apartments. They're looking, of all places, in the marina.
We all knew that we lived in an earthquake zone, and that's just part of living in San Francisco. So we'll rebuild, that's all.
We're just thankful we're alive.
PG&E announced today will set up portable showers for marina districts made homeless by the quake. They say gas service will be fully restored within 4 weeks.
Coming up next, the latest on the Cypress collapse.
And a report on the damage to San Francisco's nightlife. We'll be right back.
Okay, let's say you wanted to find yourself in a place like this at the break of day. And find action like this just 40 minutes away. Where are you going to go? Only one place we know. Reno. We'll show you something different. So where in the world are you going to find lights like these? Just an hour from lights like these. Where are you going to go? Only one place we know. Reno. We'll show you something different.
Cepacol mint kills plaque germs.
But how does it taste?
Cepacol mint fights plaque buildup. But how does it taste? Plaque fighting Cepacol mint. But how does it taste? Tastes great.
Like my mouth took a shower.
Refreshing.
A mint that lasts.
The best tasting way we know to fight plaque.
Well, there's something about you, look, that crazy way you cook. You got an attitude. There's something unrehearsed, the way you go head first. You got a taste for life that's right. Can't wait to take a bite. You got an attitude.
It's flaky. It's fresh. It's California-style blends from Schilling. Garlic with an attitude.
You got an attitude.
Need your suit pressed in a hurry? The C&R Executive Club, a free service from C&R Clothiers.
Caltrans is working 24 hours a day to demolish the Cypress Freeway by December. And they expect to find a few more bodies in the process. News Center 4's Austin Longscott reports from Oakland.
They were hard at work today, tearing down the freeway that became a tomb for at least 39 people. People came to watch big machines safely finish the job that the earthquake started so tragically last week. 39 dead isn't as bad as it could have been, but the number will probably grow.
I would anticipate that more bodies would be removed, yes.
They used to say freeways meant freedom. The Cypress Freeway started out proud. It starred on magazine covers when it opened 32 years ago. Its double decks, a first for California, saved nearby homes from demolition. Only now that it's too late do we know it was flawed from birth. After this tragedy, nobody's even thinking double deck.
Now that we're looking at is some type of a temporary facility on the ground level, an expressway.
Even in death, it's dangerous. Just before 5 tonight, this unattended tractor rolled off its lower deck, an example of why they evacuated nearby buildings before tearing it down. The men and women working on it now have some grisly times ahead. There are still 56 cars and 2 trailers entombed in the pancaked wreckage. They will be removed as the demolition crews get to them.
It'll be a slow process, be undertaken with the interest of safety in mind primarily. The structure's just too unsafe to go up there and try and take abandoned vehicles out.
By early December, they say, there will be nothing left of the Cypress Freeway but wretched memories. In Oakland, Austin Longscott, News Center 4.
San Francisco's Chinatown survived the quake without much major damage, but there's so much chipping and cracking that some city officials predict a major disaster there if something isn't done right away. News Center 4's Belva Davis with that story.
Chinatown is the most densely populated area in the city. It's also the site of hundreds of unreinforced brick buildings, like the one that toppled in the South the Market area during last week's earthquake. For years, experts had predicted extensive building collapses here if a strong quake struck. That didn't happen. But today, Supervisor Tom Shea said Chinatown is a disaster waiting to happen.
I'm speaking of those problems hidden behind the walls, in between those buildings. And they were not discovered by anyone, and no one is paying any attention to it.
Brick walls with hairline cracks are scattered throughout the area. Chips and surface breaks are everywhere. There are 115 rooms in this building, a lot of them with multiple tenants, many of those tenants elderly.
They all have a fear that once again we are neglected. No one wants to help us.
City inspectors have given the area a clean bill of health, but structural engineer Tom Chan said it's the future that worries him too.
As far as an earthquake that would be closer to Chinatown, closer to San Francisco, we would expect to see a lot more damage than what we see now.
So far, no one has even a good idea as to just how much it would cost to reinforce the estimated 400 brick buildings here in Chinatown. Belva Davis, News Center 4, San Francisco.
San Francisco's Union Square and the Pier 39 Fisherman's Wharf area suffered damage of another kind. The quake didn't hurt them, but now tourists are staying away in droves, scared off by frightening images of the quake's aftermath. News Center 4's Wilson Van Alst reports.
It was a lovely autumn evening.
It was a promising new production to open the ACT season until the earthquake shut down the company's Geary Theater home. Next door, the Curran is still open, but usually sold-out attendance at Les Miserables has been down miserably. In front of the theaters, Joe Azzolini has shined shoes for 32 years. He says things have never been worse.
No business.
No business? Why?
I don't know. I recruit.
Earthquake?
Yeah.
The great barometer of San Francisco tourist activity, hotel occupancy, is at a frightening low. Dale Hess of the city's Convention and Visitors Bureau says October is supposed to be the best month of the year.
And we were running 100% in those days before the earthquake with some large conventions, the World Series. We were all geared up. Hotels plummeted right away from 100% down as low as 15%. And some of them are still in the 30s and 40s. And when you don't have people in the hotels, then you don't have people in the restaurants and the shops and the cabs.
This was the scene at Pier 39, when the 7 p.m. dinner crowd is usually jamming the walkways. Now there is no crowd in the low-end Burger Cafe or the upscale Neptune's Palace, where business is off 80%. The manager there and many others wonder when the rest of the world will learn San Francisco is still on its feet, and they pin their hopes on baseball.
We're hoping once the series opens up again, shows the country that we're back to normal, that it'll follow real shortly after that. We'd like to see us back to normal business by next week, the end of next week.
If that seems optimistic, he says, it's because you've got to be that way to live here. In San Francisco, Wilson Van Alst, News Center 4.
Life does go on, and coming up next, other news from around the nation and the world.
Including an assault on Senator John Glenn. That's next.
It's this Thursday only. Macy's White Flower Day sale and store-wide savings. Save 20 to 40% on great fall fashion, including a superb selection of sweaters for men, women, children, everyone. Save 50% on gold, silver, gemstone, and pearl bracelets. That's this Thursday only. The White Flower Day sale at Macy's.
There are
4 sides to this story. Linda's.
So what do you think about your son and me adopting his child? My heart is so full. She has to loosen her bra.
Michael's.
Well, have you decided if you want a boy or a girl? I don't know, Michael. What do you think?
I think what you think. Lucy's.
The doctor's going to give me a sonograph tomorrow. It's like this X-ray to see if it's retarded or a boy.
And Sam's.
It's a big responsibility. They wake up in the middle of the night, sometimes more than once.
Immediate Family, rated PG-13. Starts Friday at select theaters.
Cool pasta salad. A wild girl. 6 new salads to be impressed. Always lean towards the best. Lean on Lean Cuisine.
Introducing 6 new cool pasta salads that defrost in your microwave. Chilled pasta salads. Chilling news from Lean Cuisine from Stouffer's.
You always lean towards the best. Lean on Lean Cuisine.
The quake of '89 has been a disaster for the Bay Area, the destruction, the devastation, and then the straining to recover. While here to tape my Geraldo special in San Francisco, I was moved by the incredible strength of survival and getting together in this community. If you want to help, send what you can to the Salvation Army. It's care of KRON-TV, Post Office Box 444, San Francisco 94101. Every penny will be directed to Northern California's disaster relief fund.
That's what a friend is for.
We're told that the White House is going to announce new pesticide regulations tomorrow, which it says will ease fears consumers have over the food they eat. But as NBC's Robert Hager reports, there's bound to be criticism from environmentalists.
NBC News has learned that the president will propose legislation, first to make it easier for the government to ban pesticides immediately if they're believed to be dangerous, and then take time to do follow-up testing. In the past, banning of pesticides such as Aller on apples has been delayed for years by requirements to do exhaustive testing first. But a second proposal would remove pesticides from a 31-year-old law called the Delaney Clause. The clause bans any food product with even the slightest trace of a substance which causes cancer in laboratory animals. Under it, the government banned cyclamates in 1969 and later banned red dye number 2. The administration's proposed change would permit the government to decide that when traces of pesticides show up in food, sometimes the risks are so negligible that it's still safe to market the food. And finally, a third weakening proposal would prohibit states from adopting tougher pesticide standards than the federal government. That one is certain to draw opposition from states such as New York, Texas, and Florida, which have often been more aggressive than the federal government in moving against pesticides, and especially from California, which has been toughest of all.
Officials in the Agriculture Department reportedly had a hand in making the regulations less stringent than first proposed.
The United Farm Workers Union is suing 3 big growers in the San Joaquin Valley. The UFW claims the growers violate health and safety codes. The union says the farm's facility are unsanitary and their quotas are so high the workers don't have time for lunch or bathroom breaks.
NBC News is also reporting tonight that South Africa and Israel have struck a bargain. The Israelis get South Africa's rich uranium. South Africa gets Israeli technology to build nuclear missiles. The key to the deal is said to be this complex near Pretoria, which produces the uranium. Israel also gets the use of an isolated missile firing range in South Africa. Neither country is talking about the report.
At 68, John Glenn's been through a lot. Combat Marine pilot, astronaut, U.S. Senator, presidential candidate. But none of this prepared Glenn for what happened to him today. Watch now as Glenn was taping a TV interview in Washington.
Oh, hey, God. What are you, get him. What the hell? The earthquakes that just happened, this is the start of it. The rest of them going to continue through February. You okay? Okay, son. Yeah, I'm all right. That was a good one. I've been hit like that for a long time. Good guy. What do you do? Just come up and swing, huh? I thought it was a friend of yours. Starts talking about this is the beginning of earthquakes or something. We get you anything? No, it's all right.
We don't know much about the attacker or why he did it. Authorities believe he's just unstable. The man has been charged with assaulting a congressman. That's a federal crime.
Coming up next, Mark Thompson's neighborhood weather.
We'll be right back.
Jason
JCPenney Red Tag Sale. For 3 days, this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you save an extra 30% on merchandise already marked down. For instance, pick a $28 Red Tag item marked down to $14. Save an extra 30%, making your Red Tag item just $9.80. Look for the Red Tags in every department and save an extra 30% for you, your home, and family. Save during our Red Tag Sale this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
The first night I stayed in this great hotel. The next day I put this foot where no human had ever walked before.
She is the mystery.
See things fresh for the first time.
She is Alaska, Alaska. Alaska is her name, Alaska.
The future of time is revolutionary. With computerized IQ, intelligent quartz, only from Seiko. Now just 2 hands simply perform 4 separate functions. Precision quartz time, an alarm, a countdown timer, a stopwatch. It's revolutionary. The future of time is in our hands. Seiko.
Available at all A. Hirsch & Son Jewelers locations.
Mark Thompson joins us now, and it's all that funny weather behind us.
Pretty much. We've got a little thing passing by tomorrow. I'm not really screaming rain from the rooftops because I don't think it's going to be a big deal. We'll see maybe a little light something here late tomorrow night. But tomorrow should be a pretty nice day, dry for the most part. World Series weather still looks good. And speaking of the World Series, there's an interesting earthquake-related relief fund tied to the World Series. It's called Home Runs for the Homeless. You can actually pledge money, I guess, for every run hit in the World Series. And there have already been, what, 3 home runs, I think, Gary, in the World Series? Yeah. And anyway, Gary's busy trying to line up an interview with Manute Bol right now, so he's not. In any case, all the donations go directly to the American Red Cross and the Salvation Army. You want to take down this phone number because you can pledge by phone, and it is for Home Runs for the Homeless, 415-531-7631. 531-7631. And as I say, all the money goes directly to the Red Cross and Salvation Army. It's kind of a grassroots effort. And they'll also be taking pledges at Ricky's Sports Bar. So if you're, apparently in San Leandro, a lot of people go there to watch the game. So if you're there and they approach you, check it out. Yeah, Ricky's is a while. I've never been there, but apparently they can get like Bolivian soccer games on those dishes. Yeah, they've got all the different screens up there. So I wonder if they could probably get my weather satellites over at Ricky's too. But if they approach you for Home Runs for the Homeless, give them a hand. Hey, Sierra Skiing, Kirkwood is going to be open this weekend. Limited operation, but they've had 30 inches of new snow. This is the earliest opening in their history. And Bear Valley Cross Country, also the earliest opening in their history, with 2 feet of new snow for cross-country skiers in the high country. Well, at this hour, after daytime highs hit the 60s, temperatures have dipped into the 50s, winds are west, barometer is rising. It's going to be a chilly night. Inland valleys tonight will see the 30s and 40s. There'll be a 50 or 2 city side. The last 24 hours, this is the next weather system. Here's the last one off to the east. And you can see it's going to just brush us. You can almost see that it's really eroding rather quickly, the southern extent of it. And this next system upstream will also brush by us. Still, let's call for some increasing clouds tomorrow afternoon. Maybe a shot at some showers, but I think generally Golden Gate north tomorrow, that is, will be tomorrow night or late tomorrow afternoon. I'm not really looking for this to be a big deal. As you can see, most of the energy is going to be to the north, and the jet stream is kind of pulling north as well. The snow showers are over in the high Sierra. The thunder showers are over in the central and southern Sierra. And at this hour, there's still a lingering shower in northeastern California. I guess there is one just almost in the eastern portion of the state, way down south. If you're journeying coast to coast, this major storm has left a lot of snow in the Rockies. We'll be moving out onto the Central Plains tomorrow, where they've had record heat. Today, there were 70s from Wisconsin, Michigan, all the way back into Philadelphia, 75. Atlantic City hit 75, and tomorrow, 70s and 80s. Mild weather covering most of the nation. If you're traveling tomorrow around the state of California, 60s and 70s to the south, 50s to the north. And yes, I think, dear friends to the north, Eureka northward, you will see rain from this weather system. 60s Marin and North Bay neighborhoods tomorrow. City neighborhoods to the 60s. Peninsula neighborhoods to the upper 60s. South Bay neighborhoods to the upper 60s as well. So clear, colder tonight. 30s, as I mentioned, and some dense fog will form toward dawn. In fact, it'll be around in the early morning if you're getting an early start on the commute, as many are these days. Increasing afternoon clouds and maybe a shower but generally North Bay. Increasing clouds. Afternoon showers are certainly likely in the high Sierra, 30s and 40s there. The swell to 7, seas to 4 outside the Golden Gate. And the 5-day outlook, hey, I've indicated a few clouds for tomorrow just to keep you reminded that weather system will be brushing by to the north, but the World Series weather still looks delightful right through the weekend. That's it. We'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, Mark.
All right,
Thanks, Mark. Coming up next, a tough life made even more miserable by the quake of '89.
We're going to talk live to Catherine Simpson, the mother of a disabled youngster made homeless by the quake.
Are you ready, hon?
Oh, no. I've left my medicine at home.
Is there a Payless drugstore in this town? Payless? Sure, there's one not far from here.
You can count on
forgotten her
Payless
prescription.
for what you need
We can have your prescription transferred right away.
when you need it.
Everything's going to be okay.
Now's the time to think about getting photo Christmas cards printed at these special prices in our photo finishing department. Save $10 on the Braun rechargeable shaver with compact travel case, now just $39.99.
Thank you.
Satisfaction. You deserve it. We deliver it.
As department stores scramble to bring in the hottest designers' newest fashions, they've lost sight of a simple fact. Many men don't want to spend $455 on a suit. And while the Men's Warehouse offers the same manufacturer's suit for $335, a lot of men want a suit for less. That's why the Men's Warehouse has a great selection of top-quality suits like these for under $200. I guarantee it.
The Men's Warehouse, now open at Woodside Plaza in Redwood City and at Powell Street Plaza in Emeryville.
Your Nissan dealer is having a fall clearance, so if you need a car with more power, more room, or more of everything, see your Nissan dealer now, because he's making the best deals of the year on all his Nissans. He's offering dealer cash incentives on tough, hard-body trucks, dealer cash incentives on the reliable 12-valve fuel-injected Sentra, and great deals on Maxima, the most trouble-free cars sold in the U.S. So get down to your Nissan dealer's fall clearance by November 5th, because the only thing we can't give you is more time.
Our nation today heard the plight of a young disabled earthquake victim today. 3-year-old Sam Simpson working with a therapist here at the Easter Seals Foundation. He was displaced from his Marina District home by the quake along with his mom and sister. Sam has cerebral palsy, asthma, severe allergies, and because of all that, he needs a special place to live. His mom, Catherine, told her story to Geraldo Rivera on his syndicated TV show, which was taped in the Marina District and aired today.
Been displaced. Our house is still standing, but because of my son being physically disabled and also very medically compromised, we're unable to go back. We're going to be without power for 16 weeks, which he relies on medical equipment for his everyday survival. The ashes and the dust alone from the destruction of the houses, he's unable to breathe in that atmosphere without winding up in an ICU fighting for his life. And our situation now, we can't find housing. We are staying temporarily with friends whose homes are not, made for Sam, whose homes have, I took a lot of pain structuring our environment to keep him healthy, and now that's very threatened. And he's been fighting for 3 years to stay alive, and I would hate to lose him.
Joining us now is Catherine Simpson from San Francisco. Thanks for joining us tonight. Where are you staying tonight?
Well, with a very good friend, Millie Chan. We're going to be here till Saturday, and then we're going to move again, uncertain as to where. Another friend has offered her home, as well as the Red Cross is working very diligently and trying to find us permanent housing, and if that does not work out, then temporary housing once again.
Catherine, tell us, if you will, those special needs. Why wouldn't any home do for your son?
Well, Sam has quite an extensive medical history where he's has congestive heart failure, and secondary to that, he has a huge heart pressing on the left lower lobe of his lung, and when he gets into any sort of respiratory difficulty, that left lower lobe collapses, and his oxygenation deteriorates, and the last 2 times it was so bad where he was in the ICU over at Children's Hospital, question of intubation, and just hoping that we fear once he's intubated, we will not be able to extubate him, and he would be permanently on a respirator. And he has this vein of Galen aneurysm in his brain, which is very, very rare, and children don't usually survive with this. And because he has survived, and it's just, I don't want to compromise him further. his health any further.
Well, how is he doing, Catherine, without all this special equipment that,
Oh,
that you
no,
don't
I have it all hooked up here.
You do?
Oh, yes.
So
yeah.
he's doing fine now?
Oh, yes. He's doing okay. He's not doing as well as can be expected. As you can see, he's not, if you don't know Sam, so he's much more social little kid and just a love. And right now he's very withdrawn and very pale, dark circles under his eyes, and that's usually the first sign of him starting to decompensate.
Well, Catherine Simpson, we certainly wish you much luck in finding the right housing for your children.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Of course, a lot of people, as we say, saw this story all over the country, and many people touched by it. If you would like to help Sam and Catherine Simpson, here's the address you can write. You can send a check to us right here at KRON-TV, Box 444, San Francisco, 94101. If you want your donation to help the Simpsons specifically, you should write for Sam on the envelope. And, of course, you can write to the same address to help other quake victims here in the Bay Area.
For the first time since the quake, children at the Marina Middle School returned to school today. They came with stories of real-life lessons learned in the last week. Those stories have been echoed in other schools, like this one in the Mission District.
Now, let's talk about what happened. About 5:04 on Tuesday last week. Yvonne, name one thing you'll remember for a long, long, long time about the earthquake.
So my mom got really scared. She had to pack all these stuff up. She put toothpaste in her bag, brushes to brush your hair, toothbrushes to brush your teeth.
All sorts of emergency things that she thought she might need in case they were going to be away from the home.
And Coca-Cola, because my dad likes it. I was so scared, and me and my brother were by ourselves. My mom was at work in the 21st floor. She was in the elevator, and the elevator almost fell, but she was lucky to get out at time. And she didn't come around until 7 o'clock, and she got out of work at 5:30. But because all the traffic.
Donald, what happened last Tuesday?
When it started shaking and things started falling down, I ran to the doorway, and when it stopped, I went in my grandma's living room, and then there was a big crack up in a wall, and I got scared, and I said, if it comes back, then the house is gonna fall down.
Maribel.
My mom was by these statues, and they were falling. And glass was falling, and I was worried because I thought she had cut herself or something.
Oh, wow.
Most of the people started running outside, and me, I went under the table, and my sister and my mother went in the doorway. And then after it stopped, we went in the living room and picked up all the glass.
In many places, animals do strange things just before quakes, and they still don't understand it.
Yeah, there were dogs barking, and they were howling, and they were jumping up and down.
Was that just before the earthquake took place? Before you started feeling the shaking, the dogs were making sounds in the neighborhood?
And they never do that.
Coming up next, Congress and the White House provide money for the quake cleanup.
And we'll find out how Bay Bridge repairs are going tonight.
When I put on my heels for work, I know my nice, comfy cheetahs are here saying, na, 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 na. Too bad you can't wear us to work. So when I get home, I get out of my heels and I put on these. Ooh, much better. Then I take them to aerobics to punish them for making fun of me. Na, 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 na.
Cheetah, only at Mervyn's for the clothes you love to live in.
What do you think, Dad?
Oh, it's Suffrager Grass Valley.
It's really scary when a fire hit.
Just a few feet from your house.
Yeah. You know, we're on well water.
Mm-hmm.
So when the power went out, the pump stopped. The crew in the truck came right in while the fire was going. Restored power. So we could fight the fire.
Who was it, the fire department, the forestry?
PG&E. Didn't know they did things like that. I still love it.
It'll come back.
He who brings me the kingdom's most valuable object shall marry my daughter.
Sire, I slay 2 dragons for the kingdom's most valuable object.
Next.
I swam crocodile-infested waters for this.
Next.
outsider. I didn't slay any dragons, but look, the Sony Trinitron XBR, incredible picture, amazing SRS stereo sound. Nothing's more valuable.
Bingo! The Sony Trinitron XBR TV. Every castle should have one.
It started in Japan in 1907 and became one of the most respected automobile companies in the world, Daihatsu. Nearly 1 million vehicles a year, sold in over 130 countries. Cars, trucks, and utility vehicles of incredible quality at an affordable price. Daihatsu's reputation for reliability is well known throughout the world. See Daihatsu today, one of the most respected names in Japan for over 80 years, Daihatsu.
The next stage of the Bay Bridge repair job has started. 100,000 commuters are depending upon construction crews to get that job done just as quickly as possible. News Center 4's Lynn Joyner reports.
Before the new decks can be set in place, the crews must repair or replace all the damaged supports, down to the last rivet and bolt. The biggest challenge is setting the span back atop its support tower. It came unhinged when the quake hit.
These workmen are trying to get the tower ready to receive the new steel frame. If you look over here, you can see the red paint that's underneath. It's at that point that the roadbed used to meet the tower, but the earthquake pulled it away 5.5 inches.
Caltrans and its contractors had to figure out how to realign the bridge structure before work on replacing the missing decks could go forward. Bob McDougald says it wasn't easy.
They had to design a frame to pull these two units together, utilizing the hydraulic jacks that are on hand.
So you're really going to have to pull this bridge back onto this tower.
Right, that is correct.
The designs for every step of the job are being planned by engineers working right at the Bridge Toll Plaza office. A special computerized system is coordinating all the supply delivery schedules, logistics, and engineering specifications to make sure the huge job gets done as fast as possible. The crews are working around the clock. Trucks from Houston will bring in new steel girders on Thursday. The new concrete decks are being cast in Napa. Roger Wade, a Caltrans supervisor, says the morale is very high. On the Bay Bridge, Lynn Joyner, News Center 4.
The free ride on the Bay's other bridges may be over soon, and crossing the bridges may be more expensive than ever. The Metropolitan Transportation Commission urged Governor Deukmejian today to abolish the emergency toll-free policy and also to raise tolls to discourage single-passenger cars. Joining us now from our South Bay Bureau is Rod Dearden of the MTC. Thanks for joining us. Don't you think you'll run into a lot of resistance in trying to raise the tolls?
Emerald, I don't think so. The tolls, of course, were in place before the bridge collapsed. The local governments are going to need the funding from the tolls in order to be able to cover some of the cost of the repairs that are going to be required and act as matching funds for the federal money. But more importantly, we need the stimulus to discourage people from using single-passenger vehicles. As you know, carpools, van pools, and transit vehicles are free, even when there are toll increases. And that's an encouragement for people to get out of that single-passenger vehicle during commute hours.
Well, Rod, does that mean that people in one person per car would pay more than other people that are going through the bridge? In other words, people would pay $2 maybe with 2 or 3 people, and people would pay $3 if they're alone? I mean, how does it work?
No, the way it is now is that if you have a carpool...
you go through free.
Yeah, that's right.
And you pay $1 in the Bay Bridge right now.
That's right.
Or what's it going to be in the future?
Well, we're indicating to the governor that we would hope that we'd see an increase in the fees. We didn't say what type of increase. That's up to the governor and the legislature to figure out what's appropriate in terms of motivation and revenue.
How much do you need?
Well, we need a lot more than can ever be generated by a bridge toll. Indeed, we indicated also in the same motion to the governor that undoubtedly he's going to have a statewide or some kind of a tax increase, and we asked him to make sure that it was a statewide tax increase rather than just taxing the people in the Bay Area. It's traditional in California that we share the cost of an emergency. We share the cost of the fires in Southern California and so on. So we're asking for a statewide tax increase to cover the cost of the disaster and not just a Bay Area tax increase.
Just how soon might we see those increases if they go through?
Well, the governor is talking about an emergency session in the next couple of weeks. If that emergency session does occur and the governor and the legislature agrees with MTC, then the increases may occur rather soon.
We're hearing tonight that the various different transit agencies that are in emergency mode right now are spending, what, $33,000 in the next, was that the figure?
$33 million. Yeah.
How much?
$33 million.
$33 million in the next 3 months. How are you going to coordinate to pay for all that?
Well, right now we're taking it out of our reserves, and those reserves are all earmarked for various kinds of programs. In fact, some agencies are having a hard time even finding the reserves. So we're going to have some kind of revenue coming from the state and federal government to take care of that kind of deficit. We have to make the expenditures. We can't let the economy of the region go down the tubes, so we have no choice.
Rod Derriden, thanks for joining us. Someone's going to have to pay somewhere.
And some help is coming because Congress passed an earthquake aid bill today, providing about $2.8 billion to be shared by Bay Area quake victims and East Coast hurricane victims. We're going to get most of the money that is attached to a federal spending bill that the president says he'll sign tomorrow. Kevin McCullough reports from our Washington bureau.
Brian, Mr. Bumper. The Senate took the $2.8 billion aid package passed by the House and promptly raised the limit. California Senator Alan Cranston.
California will be eligible to receive immediately $3.45 billion. To repeat, $3.45 billion.
The extra money comes from giving California greater access to federal loans for small businesses. The Senate also added language changes to allow federal money to be used to repair the Bay Bridge and to ease other restrictions on disaster relief. Both California senators who had engineered the changes said they improved the disaster bill, but that California would need still more money when the damage is finally totaled.
It is my intention, and I think shared by Senator Cranston, that there should be a longer-term recovery act that necessarily takes into account what will be required to deal with the problem fully.
The disaster aid package passed the Senate 97-1, with only Republican Senator Gordon Humphrey of New Hampshire dissenting on grounds the Senate should have figured out how to pay for the earthquake relief before committing the money. But except for Humphrey, that was an issue the Senate chose to deal with on another day. In Washington, Kevin McCullough, News Center 4.
The new Red Cross shelter at the Presidio is desperate for supplies for the hundreds of homeless that it's been housing since shortly after the quake. Glide Memorial Church sent a care convoy to the shelter late this afternoon. The shelter houses quake-displaced people who were moved from Moscone Center over the weekend. Glide brought toiletries, clothes, and blankets.
Up next, Gary Radnich with sports,
including Warriors highlights and the A's practice in Phoenix.
When I decided to become a superhero, since flying and being invisible were taken, I picked Jumpman. All I need is a great pair of jumping shoes. These help a lot. I'm sure they're good for about 1 trillion jumps. I can wear them anywhere, and no one knows my secret identity.
Cheetah, only at Mervyn's, for the clothes you love to live in.
Would you still love him if he traded in his Eagle Premier?
Do you plan to trade in your Eagle Premier?
No.
Then why even ask?
I hear your Eagle Premier has more room than a lot of other European sedans.
It has more room than any car in its class.
More room than any car in its class?
There must be an echo in here.
KMEL's John London. My boss, Paulette, is back from vacation, and last week when I gave away $15,000, she got a little PO'd.
He means personally offended.
So this Thursday, $20,000 if your birthday matches the one in this envelope. Just put your radio on KMEL 106.1 FM. Listen at 7:10 Thursday morning for your chance to win 20 grand. KMEL, more music, more fun, and more free money. Tomorrow morning at 7:10 on KMEL, someone's going to win 20 grand. Say what, boss?
Beautiful carpeting, beautiful upholstery. Now it's easy to keep them clean with a Power Steamer by Bissell. The Power Steamer is a professional-style cleaning machine. Deep clean carpeting, spots and spills, and whole rooms. Clean upholstery, sofas, chairs, and in your car. The Power Steamer shoots a warm cleaning formula and pulls out deep-down dirt vacuums can't. It's Bissell's best with many special features. Don't rent. Own your own Bissell Power Steamer and deep clean anytime you like.
Only $159.88 now at Kmart.
Now Royal Caribbean sails to Mexico and to Alaska. The Royal Caribbean Vacation. It's all here.
Time now for the most recognized face on Bart.
Yes, Gary.
Bart Ryder.
Yeah, thank you. That's very good, Bob. Yeah, no, I'm enjoying. I've got a. If I could bring the Bart crowd into the studio, I might go over big. I'm enjoying my nights on Bart. A lot of nice people. Golden State's lone home exhibition game of the season, enhanced by all the right moves, both on and off the court this evening. With Mayor Wilson and team president Dan Finan at midcourt, Seattle coach Bernie Bickerstaff made the first contribution to earthquake relief, and then the hat was passed throughout the arena. Time to play ball. Don Nelson on record as saying he wants to ring up 120 points a game and lead the league. Why not? Chris Mullin for the jumper. He had 33 points. Exhibitions, well, they're exhibitions, but Golden State has to be pleased to be off to a 5-1 start. Richmond back for his second season. He's only gotten better. Don Nelson still leads the league in games coached wearing tennis shoes. Seattle, the only team not to win in the preseason. They're now 0-5. Winston Garland running the break, looking for Mullin, 106-103. Warriors a victor this evening. Now, the Warriors close out the preseason Friday against the Clippers in Los Angeles and Monday against Sacramento inside San Jose State's new arena before opening for keeps 1 week from this Friday on the road versus Phoenix. A man who's a lock to make the 12-man roster is five-time NBA All-Star Marcus Johnson, who apparently has made an improbable comeback after 3 years of NBA exile. A severe neck injury forced Johnson out of the league in 1986. Earlier, we asked the 33-year-old why he's giving it another shot.
Well, Gary, I played a lot of basketball during the summers in Los Angeles, and I had an opportunity to play against Magic Johnson quite a bit this summer. And I just asked him point blank after we played one day, what do you think? Do you think I still have any skills left? And he told me very honestly that he felt that I had a lot of skills left, that I could be a positive contributor to somebody's team and to not give up on it. And I took those words of encouragement and just used them as my motivation.
You figured then, if Magic thinks you can do it, you've still got something left.
If the Magic man says it could be done, it could be done.
Okay, Giants worked out once again today at Candlestick Park. One bit of post-earthquake good news for the franchise. The son of team president Al Rosen lost his house in the marina, and with it a tremendous memorabilia collection he kept for his father. Word is Jimmy Rosen has salvaged his father Al's 1953 Most Valuable Player trophy, as well as 2 World Series rings. Meanwhile, the A's were greeted by 6,000 fans and 78-degree weather as Tony La Russa moved his training camp to Phoenix for 2 days of work. You see the faces of McGuire and Canseco, and you can't help but think fresh surroundings put a little life back into the Oakland club. But let's hear from the gentlemen themselves.
I'd rather be at home, you know, but as I say, we just work here. We got to do what they say.
We've been on an up-and-down roller coaster for the last couple of weeks, and it's not good for anybody to play sports. And I think the people who only play sports know what it's like, how tough it is to turn it on and turn it off. So, they set a date Friday, and we're turning it on again, but it's difficult to go on and off all the time.
I mean, I didn't even think that we'd get this kind of reaction, but it's going to turn out good because I know they're making donations. And they're talking about maybe tomorrow for that game we play, doing something. All that money's going to go back north, so great.
Okay. Something, not someone. Selected tonight at the NFL Owners Gathering in Cleveland. A new committee to choose Pete Rozell's successor has been named. Well, maybe tomorrow the new commissioner will be introduced. At least we know who the 2 finalists are.
They have been given a week till a meeting we plan for Dallas next Wednesday to reach a unanimous decision on either Paul Tagliabue or Mike or Jim Finks. And they're meeting tonight, and they'll report on their progress tomorrow morning at 9.
Okay, Rozell wants to go visit his new home in San Diego. Encouraging words on the return to health of Jeff Fuller. The defensive back said to be making gradual improvement each day. He is first and foremost in the minds of his teammates.
Today on, it's all for Jeff Fuller. And, he's the type of guy that, he would want it to be that way. When he sets up to play the football games, he goes out all out. He's a warrior, and I tell you, to lose a guy like that, it really hurts. I went and visited him last night, and that really touched me really bad. And I just, I really can't wait till the game starts, because I'm giving it all for him.
Okay, we'll keep you posted nightly on the condition of Jeff Fuller. We'll leave on a light note. All you boxing fans who anticipated Razor Ruddock knocking out Mike Tyson in November, I have bad news for you. The champ has a condition similar to pneumonia. What's similar to pneumonia, Bob? This is what Don King says. Similar to
Walking
pneumonia.
pneumonia.
Anyway, the November 18th Mike Tyson Razor Ruddock fight has now been postponed till early 1990. So get yourselves together, and we'll have to wait for that fight another couple months.
Better hurry or you'll miss your train.
Hey, good one, Bob. I am big on Bart.
Right.
We're glad.
Walks up to me the first night after he rides Bart and says, "Where's the lounge car? I didn't see the lounge." Coming up next, Jerry Graham's Bay Area Back Roads.
Jerry will have some comforting thoughts for us in the wake of the quake of '89.
This year, for the third year in a row, Acura was ranked #1 in customer satisfaction. A fact that should surprise only those individuals who have yet to drive a car like the Legend sedan. Build on the theory that while the destination is important, the journey is the ultimate reward.
It's this Thursday only, Macy's White Flower Day sale and store-wide savings. Save 25 to 50% on all bath rugs and towels. Save 50% on Magnolite Professional Out-of-Box Cookware. Panasonic microwaves are 50% off. This Panasonic cordless phone is only $110. That's this Thursday only, the White Flower Day sale at Macy's.
Check out the best territory. First Interstate Bank territory, where you can get the best checking account there is. Whether you write many checks or a few. Whether you want to earn interest or get extra services. Only your First Interstate checking account lets you cash a personal check in more cities and states than any other bank system. So open a checking account at First Interstate Bank. We go the extra mile for you.
Today's high-compression engines not only rev high, they can run hotter than regular small car engines. Their searing heat can begin to break down an oil immediately. That's why there's Castrol, the motor oil that in every grade provides maximum protection against viscosity and thermal breakdown. So use Castrol before your engine does something to get you heated up. Castrol, engineered for today's smaller cars.
Castrol GTX, available at the customer company.
Finally tonight, pictures of 504 last Tuesday, indelibly etched in all our minds. Many are painful, others are inspirational, stories of a lot of heroism. But there are other pictures as well of a Bay Area still standing, still like no other place. Here's Jerry Graham.
The last week has had a terrible toll on all of us, even those who seem to have been unaffected by the fury of the earthquake. The pictures have been indelibly etched in our brains. Human suffering, the gaping hole in the Bay Bridge, the Cypress structure, the Marina fire. It's almost enough to make us forget that we still live in one of the most beautiful areas in the world. So for the next couple of minutes, we want to give some visual reassurance. Now, all of these places are still here and doing fine. there's still no place I'd rather live. On the back roads, I'm Jerry Gray.
You know, it's too bad the rest of the country can't see this story, because when the national media, of course, came in, they showed a picture that I think gave a lot of the nation kind of the wrong impression of what happened after that Tuesday.
You think all our bridges went down and the city went down in flames? Of course, that's not true. A couple of reminders: the Golden Gate Bridge, they'll be collecting tolls again tomorrow during the commute hours in the morning. And we have expanded commuter coverage. It begins tomorrow, 6 o'clock, on a special edition of Daybreak. That's 6 a.m. here on Channel 4. I'm Emerald Ye for Suzanne Shaw.
I'm Bob Jimenez to remind you that we'll be back again here at 10 o'clock. Have a great night.